Small town charm.
Head to the downtown Lee Summit Farmers Market, where local meets fresh. Then grab a cup of coffee and discover a variety of shops and boutiques just around the corner. Continue the fun in downtown Lee Summit at a retro arcade bar. Discover your new beer at one of our 6 locally owned breweries. Cool off with some handcrafted cocktails at happy hour. End the night with live music and good company. Lee Summit, Missouri.
Hello, Lee Summit. I'm Laura, and this is your flash briefing for the week of January 13th. City Council will hold a joint session Tuesday night with the Lee Summit Parks and Recreation Board at 6 p.m. in council chambers at City Hall. The meeting is open to the public or watch live on the city's YouTube channel. If you can't watch, catch the recorded meeting on demand on the YouTube channel or by subscribing to the Council Debrief newsletter, which breaks down 3 to 4 key agenda items. Subscribe at cityofls.net. It sure is cold outside. Be sure to protect your pipes by doing these 4 simple tasks. Disconnect hoses from outside spigots, leave cabinet doors open for warm air circulation, let water trickle to keep it flowing, and insulate pipes and faucets in unheated areas. Find more winterization tips at lswater.net. Stay safe and informed with LS Aware, the city's free alert system designed to keep residents and businesses informed of emergencies such as winter events, road closures, and certain non-emergency events. The city can quickly send messages via phone, text, or email depending on the preference set up by the user. Users choose how to be notified and what information they wish to receive. Sign up at lsaware.net. The city is hiring. Join our team at the City of Lee Summit. The city offers rewarding career opportunities, a positive environment, and fantastic benefits. View these opportunities at lspeople.net. A reminder, city facilities will be closed on Monday, January 20th. Thanks for listening and have a great week.
Welcome to the Lee Summit Sign Department. We are going to walk you through our process from start to finish. We make signs as needed here. It's not like we just go out into the field and place the speed limit sign here, no parking here. Our traffic engineers, they go through and they'll do field studies. They'll send us down an engineering work order for us to go out, place new signs or remove signs as needed. Coming from the material, our blanks come in and they're just aluminum blanks. So we can put our white, our red, our fluorescent yellow, green, whatever. And basically what it looks like is just that there. Throw it up into the roller. And once we got it covered, take it to our work table here, and Tim will cut the corners, cut all the access off to where it's lined up right. As far as the plotter and the software that we use, there's a street name sign there, and he's gonna go ahead and print that out on the plotter so you can see the plotter and how it operates and runs. There's standards for the height, even just on letters on the sign blank. Basically what we have on the computer there is it's pretty much set up to those, and it goes through. It's got a very small but sharp needle that goes through and cuts everything out letter by letter. Once that's done cutting, our next stage would be bringing it over here. Currently picking out the sign letters right now. We call it weeding or picking or however you want to call it. Next, putting it on the transfer tape. Then after it's taped, we bring it over to the roller. That's where we apply it to the actual sign blank. And we'll roll it through one time just to get the air bubbles out. And the last stage is basically just taking the transfer tape off the front of it. And there's a finished product of the street name sign. We'll take you out to the field and show you our process that we go through. We're gonna go out and follow our sign guys and get something installed for you. This is where we check our underground utilities. Tim, you got AT&T?
AT&T's back here.
Evergy, Google, so we should be good to go. We normally put all of our stuff together out in the field. Then once the base is installed, we'll go ahead and put the post in there. We've come up to perfect. And that's how we do it. Simple, quick.
Have you ever been driving around Lee Summit and wondered what's that going to be? What's being built there? Wow, that went up fast. The Development Minute is here to help, highlighting some of the newest projects in Lee Summit, Missouri.
Popeye's Louisiana Kitchen is coming to the former Lion's Choice at Summit Orchards. The fast food chain known for its fried chicken and spicy chicken sandwiches is scheduled to open in early 2025. Local authentic Mexican restaurant El Toro Loco is coming to Summit Woods Crossing Shopping Center. The restaurant will occupy the former On the Border location and offer dishes like street tacos, enchiladas, and fajitas. El Toro Loco will be opening in early 2025. Pho Noodle Go had a soft opening where the former Pepper Jack's Grill was located in Summit Woods Crossing. The establishment is currently serving a selection of pho noodle soups, appetizers, and daily specials. Pho Noodle Go will fully open in 2025. The Quick Trip located at 1001 Southwest Blue Parkway has begun its redevelopment. The squeaky clean car wash is being demolished to accommodate a new 5,300 square foot QT building and a planned phased rebuild. The current location will remain open during construction. The new QT will open in 2025. Discovery Park, the 3.9 million square foot mixed-use project located off of Northwest Colburn Road and Northeast Douglas Street, is underway, and its first phase, The Village, is being graded. Town Place Suites Hotel by Marriott will be one of the first builds coming to the Village. The hotel will feature spacious rooms with amenities including full kitchens.
That's it for the Development Minute. For more about upcoming projects, visit cityofls.net.
Councilmember Hodges.
Thank you. I love where you guys are coming from. You're local and you're all kind of coming together. But where I'm struggling with from the last time that we talked about this, I think it was maybe October.
I actually grew up in my district. We moved here my sophomore year in high school. My parents still live in the same house, and I just went through high school here and then have stayed in Lee Summit ever since. The neighborhood that my parents live in is Canterbury. My favorite thing, and I still do to this day, is I love to go running. They have the best sidewalks. I feel like you can go for days. So now I still get to do that. Since I live not too far from them, I get to use those same routes that I took during high school, and it's just fun. All right, let's see it, Joe. Come on. We're a big soccer family. I love sports, I love to watch sports, and it's even more fun to watch sports when my kids are in it. I coach my middle daughter Josie's team. I have since kindergarten. We do the basketball, we do softball, we're gonna do volleyball, and it's just so much fun. Something that I would like to accomplish while on city council is to get more family activities here. You know, I don't want to have to be driving my family to, say, the Kansas side or any other city but my own. And I want to be able to invest in our city and make family memories in our city.
Open the public hearing in the matter of K1 Speed, Diventures,
Crack Shack, Blue Jeans Golf.
Councilmember Hodges.
I just want to say thank you for bringing us to Lee Summit. I grew up at this. My grandpa would take us there, so I'm excited that now I can take my kids there.
Bill number 23-0, pre-construction services for the downtown Market Plaza project.
I'm just as excited as everybody else about the downtown marketplace. I'm extremely excited about the community that it's going to bring, bringing more family things to do to the city and right in the heart of it.
When you presented the numbers, the first time you came to us, it was 25.5%, and then a lot of...
You know, people were like, oh, you know, being on council, it's not a lot of work, not a lot of... I think it was a bit of a surprise when there's so much info that you realize you just don't know. Even something as simple as sidewalks. It's like you don't realize how much goes into something like that. after a couple months, I'm like, okay, I'm finally, catching the groove of how things work, learning new things, but also feel like I've got some things under my belt as well. It's been a great experience so far.
Okay, welcome everyone. Before we begin, I just want to do a sound check. When we speak into these microphones up here tonight, it's not going to sound like they can hear us. But I'm going to ask the crowd, can you all hear us? Need it turned up? Okay, they're telling me, Josh, it needs to be turned up. Can you turn it up a little bit? All right, test.
Still a bit more there.
I'm talking right into it. I'm kissing this thing, so.
I can hear you.
Share. Yay.
Oh, COVID so long.
Okay, test. Joe, Snook, can you hear me? All right, that's better. Okay. Sometimes it depends on the microphone too. If one works better than the other, you might want to pass it around. But are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, then would you please rise for the invocation? Are you ready? And stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. You're going to have to wing it.
All right.
Heavenly Father, we thank you again for allowing us to get together this evening to address important issues that impact our community. We thank you for the blessings you bestow on us here tonight and those that are not with us. Keep those that are out in the cold safe, and let us do what's best for our community and be respectful of all of the conversations we have tonight. And we do it in your name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. Okay, thank you all. With that, I'm going to call to order the City of Lee Summit regular session, joint session with the Parks Board. Regular session number 25. Can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Hodges.
Here.
Councilmember Rader.
Present.
Councilmember Pryor.
Here.
Councilmember Shields.
Here.
Councilmember Lovell. Councilmember Carlisle.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Here.
Mayor Baird.
Here. And then could we get the Parks Board attendance?
Mr. John Ellis.
He's going to be late.
Casey Crawford.
Here.
Wesley Fields. Lawrence Bivens.
Here.
Kathy Campbell.
Here.
Mindy Allenbach.
Here.
Nate Zier.
Here.
Vice President Samantha Shepard.
Here.
President James Huser.
Here.
Okay, very good. Thank you. The first thing on the agenda, what we'll do, let me just tell you how the night's going to work. We've got the approval of the agenda. We're going to approve that. We'll get to the consent agenda. We'll run through that. We'll have to do roll call votes for those. Typically, we vote on electronic devices up there, but because we're doing the Park Board joint session, we're going to make our way through to the Park Board presentation and the city presentation and the discussions. Then we'll take a break and we'll go back up there for the council. But to begin, I would need an approval of the agenda. Yes, Councilmember Carlisle.
Second.
All right, I have a motion to approve the agenda by Councilmember Carlisle, seconded by Councilmember Shields. Discussion? Seeing none, can I get a roll call vote, please?
Councilmember Carlisle.
Aye.
Councilmember Shields.
Aye.
Councilmember Pryor.
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Councilmember Rader.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Aye.
Mayor Baird.
Aye. Thank you. The motion is, the approval of the agenda has been adopted. I need an approval of the consent agenda, please. Motion?
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Shields.
Aye.
Councilmember Carlisle.
Aye.
Councilmember Rader.
Aye.
Councilmember Hodges.
Aye.
Councilmember Pryor.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Lopez.
Aye.
Mayor Baird.
Aye. Very good. Thank you all. This portion of the meeting is council roundtable. We usually, if council members want to talk about anything that's going on in the district, items of interest, things of that nature. Park Board members, you're welcome to chime in as well. Do you have any ribbon cuttings going on?
I hope not. It's sub-zero.
Okay. Jim Huser is the Park Board President, so we're going to run this meeting together once we get to that portion of the meeting. But we just have 2 more items of business before we dive into that. The first is the public comments. We have numerous public comments tonight. And so just for everybody in attendance, this is time set aside for citizens to address the mayor and council on items on the agenda or items related to the operations of the city. Speakers will be restricted to 3 minutes. Minutes may not be transferred from one speaker to another. Mayor may declare speaker out of order if they're talking about items that are not on the agenda, which operations of the city are on the agenda. So that's so it does need to be related to general operations of the city. Nothing on public hearings tonight, so that's not applicable. We just want orderly and fair discussion, no profanity, no attacks on any other private citizens. So with that said, first speaker of the night is Alex Burns. You can, yeah, or you can grab a microphone if somebody wants to. Councilmember Shields, would you give her your microphone if she wants to hold the microphone and face us?
This seems very important, so fancy microphone. Good evening. My name is Alex Burns. I'm with Hy-Vee, and I am here today regarding the second reading of Bill number 25009. According to the January 7th, 2025 public hearing testimony, the boundaries of the original regional CID do not overreach down the coordinator to Hy-Vee alone. The current proposal, influenced by the shopping center developer who would receive $36 million in taxpayer funds, seems to prioritize private development interests. This approach may not reflect the principles of equitable public governance, especially when the Oldham Village incentives could be fully funded within the city staff's original recommended CID boundaries, which excluded Hy-Vee. There's been a lot of discussion about the concept of community benefit. However, it's important to ask who truly benefits. Developers and commercial real estate brokers may see advantages, but it's challenging to see how this proposal serves Lee's Summit taxpayers or Hy-Vee employees who would be placed in a new sales tax district without a clear benefit. Do Lee's Summit residents really want to pay 1% more for groceries for the next 27 years to bring another fast food drive-through? Additionally, it's worth noting that as of January 1st, the state of Kansas eliminated its 2% sales tax on groceries, completing a multi-year reduction from 6.5% to 0. This change demonstrates the value placed on reducing costs for consumers. In contrast, this proposal suggests increasing grocery costs locally. The January 7th hearing didn't appear to include a robust discussion on the merits of the incentives, such as the total requested amount, the cost of transitioning the site from a blight to a greenfield, or the broader project costs. Instead, at least $36 million in taxpayer funds were committed to a preliminary development plan that includes 9 drive-through restaurants, 2 drive-through coffee shops, a fast casual dining, retail spaces, a grocery store, a car wash, a gas station, and a multifamily housing unit. We encourage the City Council to pause and reassess this proposal. At a minimum, we respectfully request that Hy-Vee be removed from the CID boundary and returning the boundaries to the original staff recommendation. Thank you. Alex.
All right, thank you. Ms. Bushyhead.
Christine Bushyhead here on behalf of Hy-Vee regarding the second reading of Bill number 25-009. On January 7th, 2025, the public hearings regarding the Oldham Village land use and incentives, including hundreds of pages of exhibits and hours of testimony. However, there was an absence of a city-written staff report addressing the proposed incentives, which could have provided more clarity. After the public hearings, the majority of the mayor and city council moved forward with first reading of the 291 South Regional CID Ordinance. This decision was significant public policy implications, but appears to have been made in minimal, in-depth discussion. The message to the existing Lee Summit business community: it seems that under the current proposal, existing commercial retail businesses in Lee Summit are being given we're not being given the same level of consideration as new businesses. In some cases, it feels as though there's a disparity in how businesses are treated, with some receiving special protections from government intervention while others face more challenges. Additionally, it seems the city is becoming involved in the operational decisions of private businesses such as Hy-Vee without clear community benefits to justify this level of influence. The message to the Lee Summit citizens: when the city takes on the role of private developer, as was seen with the Troop A relocation project, and faces an $8.1 million shortfall, it appears the response is to increase taxes on citizens to cover the cost of these development projects. This approach may lead to increased financial burdens for residents in order to address the city's development-related debts. We respectfully urge the City Council to pause and consider a different approach that sends a more balanced message to both the existing business community and the Lee Summit citizens. We encourage you to vote no on Bill number 25-009, but alternatively, if the bill proceeds, we request that the City Council consider an amendment to remove Hy-Vee, the only business at the intersection of 3rd and Highway 50, in the proposed boundaries, and remove Hy-Vee from the proposed regional CID boundaries and return the boundaries back to what was the original staff recommendation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Dale Mitchell.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. This also is regarding the second reading of Bill number 25009. It appears that the decision regarding the 291 South Regional CID hinges largely on a proposed project at 3rd and 50, Highway 50. I'm shaking, that's great. So excited. Until recently, this was not part of the discussions surrounding Oldham Village. The project was not on the priority lists of MoDOT or the City Council just 30 days ago. Currently, there is no detailed plan, design, engineering, or estimated cost for the 3rd and Highway 50 improvement. With an estimated cost of over $33 million, this project remains undefined. Given that the traffic study for the Oldham Village development did not suggest a need for improvements to this interchange, it raises questions about the urgency and rationale behind prioritizing this project. I would ask, wouldn't it be more prudent to develop a clear plan for the 3rd and Highway 50 improvement first and explore funding alternatives at that time? This approach would also provide more equitable governance, especially for the existing benefit of the community, the business community. Furthermore, the decision to include only the Hy-Vee property at the intersection of 3rd and Highway 50 in the CID boundaries is very concerning. We believe that revisiting this decision could address some of these concerns. We respectfully ask the City Council to pause and reconsider the inclusion of Hy-Vee in the proposed regional CID boundaries. Because even without Hy-Vee, the Oldham Village project can proceed as planned. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And then Mr. Waddle, Rob Waddle.
Evening. Evening, Rob Waddle with Hy-Vee. What we're requesting tonight is that Hy-Vee customers be excluded from the developer CID. The CID is not for the benefit of the 3rd Street improvements. 3rd Street intersection improvements wasn't even in the conversation until recently. It was presented for the first time to council last week. This CID only includes Hy-Vee's customers and none of the other businesses in the 3rd Street intersection. All the other intersections in the CID include surrounding businesses. Ask yourself why. Why only Hy-Vee customers at the 3rd Street intersection? This intersection, to name a few, has CVS, Walgreens, Dollar Tree, QT, all competitors of Hy-Vee, none of which are in the CID. The South QT, not this QT, you've agreed to a memorandum of understanding that their sales tax goes to only their intersection improvements.
No, go ahead, sir. That wasn't 3 minutes. Keep going.
Okay. All these businesses sell the same product as Hy-Vee, and they're not in the CID. How is this equitable and ethical? Do you think maybe the developer only chose Hy-Vee because the more businesses in the CID at 3rd Street is more no votes for the private developer CID? CID money can only be used in a CID district. Look at the 3rd Street intersection boundaries. Are the improvements within the existing boundaries? Public Works is forecasting total property taking on the north side. Is that within the boundaries? You don't know because it hasn't been designed. There hasn't been any scope with MoDOT on the reconstruction of 3rd Street intersection. The developer has said they want the CID to reimburse the improvements on their property first, which could include parking lots, sidewalks, site improvements, sewer improvements, utilities, demo, and remediation. Then to Troop A headquarters. Then to 3rd Street last. What if there isn't any money? This is not a well-thought-out CID. City's attorney said last week there's no guarantee that there will be money left for 3rd Street intersection improvements. I even heard that if there isn't money after 27 years, can we extend the CID? That's 27 years. You want to risk not having 3rd Street improvements for 27 years? If there's a need for 3rd Street improvements, you've just handcuffed Hy-Vee, one of the biggest incentive drivers for those improvements. Those incentives are first being used for the private development a mile south for potentially 27 years. I want to be clear. Hy-Vee will do anything for our customers, your constituents. So if the city forces us into a CID, we will be forced to stand up for our customers and challenge the abuse of a taxing authority. All we're asking is you remove Hy-Vee's customers from the CID. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we have one more tonight. We have Miss Angela Turner.
Hello, Mayor, Council, Park Board. I'm Angela Turner. I own Belfiore Co. Flower Bar Boutique in downtown Lee Summit, 20 Southwest 3rd Street. And I'm here to talk to you about the city's management of our contract over snow removal in downtown. You all know that last week was just a really challenging week, and my thanks to all of our council people who answered all of those calls, and to our public works that worked so tirelessly to try to clear the city. You may not know, but the city manages the contract that oversees the clearing of all of the public parking lots, all of the public parking on the streets, and some of the arteries on foot that go into downtown. It was a really challenging week. By Friday, little if any of this had been cleared. Snow was piled up in the handicap spot in front of Amtrak. Public lots had not been touched. Most public parking was packed with snow, so much that you'd have to have a lift kit on a Ford in order to be able to park there. And even today, if you're trying to walk from east to west to go over the railroad track by Howard Park, you have to go over ice. It got shoveled right up to the sidewalk, and then whoever did it stopped. By day 5, our own store was not able to be accessed without you risking your life being sideswiped or parking very, very, very far away or on top of a snowbank. And I know a lot of you are going to say, but Angela, it was a really unprecedented storm. It was, but let's consider something. I spoke to Amy, who used to own Cameron's, and they dealt with this for 20 years. And finally, her dad got so frustrated, he just got a snowblower and started doing it himself. The salon across the street from me, been there 10 years, also has had issues. And more recently, Melissa, who had Very Violet in the exact same spot where my store is, she struggled. And in fact, I sent a letter to then city manager Steve Arbo in 2018 asking for his help. So why is it after decades that we're not getting this taken care of? It's time that a new plan get developed. And I have a lot of confidence that it will. You know, we've all worked hard, I mean, so many of us in this room, to make downtown what it is. It's the heart of our city. And so many families have invested tens, if not hundreds of thousands of their own dollars into downtown to make it what it is. We should always be open for business and always welcoming new visitors. I'd like to say special thanks to Councilmember Pryor and to City Assistant Manager Ryan Elam for helping us. There was no way to park in front of our store until Saturday morning, and I was desperate for help. So my great thanks to them for helping us, and to Public Works, who shouldn't have had to do that job. Thank you.
Thank you. There's going to be a lot more discussions on snow. It was a tough week. I don't want that to end without everybody knowing. We're gonna have a lot of conversations about it. Mr. Dunning is going to be bringing forward all the ways that we can improve, and options for council to consider as far as resources and such. Because we don't want this to, we don't want to have this type of issue even in, I think she referred to it as an unprecedented storm. We want to be able to have solutions and put them on the table now, or soon at least, so that we can consider, how to address this in the future. So yes, internal things we can do better, but also solutions that maybe council can be a part of as far as decision making as well. And I want, before we go into proclamations, I do want you to know the other items of the public comments, the only thing I want the park board to know is, how hard this job is. Tons of due diligence has gone into this. So the only thing that I want to say is we put a lot of time in on this, a lot of consideration. So I don't want you to think we did anything hasty, because I am very confident in this council and in the staff. And those were really, really, really tough decisions last week. But if you're going to be in this spot, you're going to be on the park board, you're going to be on the city council seat, you got to make tough decisions. And so that's what we did last week, and we'll have to make another one tonight in a second reading if you stick around after after this presentation. But let's get started with, here's a really positive thing. We have a proclamation tonight with regard to National Religious Freedom Day. So I would love the people that are here, that are in attendance for this, to meet me down front. I know there's a few of you here, but I really would like to take a photo after I read this proclamation. So if you would do that with me, I would appreciate it. Where's Andrew? There's former council member Andrew Felker. Bring him down here, sir. Oh, thank you for doing this. Councilmember Felker, I know, has rallied the troops. So we've got a good crowd here tonight, and we love this. We love bringing attention to good causes. And this is definitely a good cause. Look at the Felker families here. That's wonderful. All right. Hold tight, and then we're going to say a few words. Whereas January 16th, 2025 is recognized as National Religious Freedom Day, a day to celebrate and reaffirm the fundamental right of religious freedom for all citizens. And whereas religion has its greatest impact, not at the national level, but at the local level, where people of faith live by their convictions and serve and bless others on a one-to-one basis, fostering a sense of community and mutual support. And whereas religion benefits our community by providing a moral compass, fostering love, and offering strength during loss. For decades, religious institutions and people of faith have played a crucial role in our city through charitable activities, aiding the needy, comforting those in loss, and encouraging us to high standards of integrity. And whereas the United States Constitution and the Missouri Constitution affirm the right of all citizens to freely exercise their religious faith or non-religious beliefs in the public square without being deprived of other rights or privileges. And whereas we all benefit from a pluralistic society where residents of all beliefs work together for the common good while holding divergent viewpoints, and where all citizens are free to exercise such influence as their ideas and values may engender. Whereas Lee Summit welcomes and protects people of diverse backgrounds by allowing them to freely live according to their deeply held convictions as protected by law. Whereas Lee Summit encourages all residents to strive to understand the experiences and concerns of others while supporting the essential role religion plays in protecting human dignity, strengthening society, and fostering a culture of tolerance and peace. by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Lee Summit, I do hereby proclaim January 16th, 2025 as Religious Freedom Day. Thank you all for coming tonight. Mr. Felker, how did you get all these people here?
Phone calls, visits, pestering, love, lots of great people. That's what, and lots of great people come. Yes. So we approached. Actually, just a little bit of history. There was an effort made to have a similar religious freedom proclamation with the governor of Missouri about half a year ago, and he was gracious and had a very multi-faith and political parties were involved with that, and we thought, well, let's do that here, meaning let's do it in the city of Lee Summit, but there's also been several other municipalities, and I don't know if you're hearing about it, but at least 11 others in the kind of the, we'll say, northwestern Missouri area and on the Kansas side as well have had similar proclamations read by their mayors. So I reached out to members of the Lee Summit Ministerial Alliance, and they were gracious enough to give me an audience a couple times to talk about it, and were supportive of the idea. And certainly, Mayor, you were kind enough to, once we talked about it, we talked about what it was about, you were supportive of doing it as well. So we hope it's something that can be a benefit to the community long term. I think it would be good if you don't mind introducing just, and I'm going to pass the mic around. So Pastor Silver's at the end. Please stay maybe where you're from, your name, what church you represent.
Sure.
If you want to say something about religious freedom, I think.
I'm Matthew Silvers. I'm one of the pastors of Lee Summit Christian Church. I'm also vice moderator of the Greater Kansas City Interfaith Council, and so religious freedom is a big piece of the ministry that I believe in. And here in Lee Summit, we want to welcome all those of faith or no faith, and treat them as fellow citizens of the same community. So thank you.
Hi, my name is John Whitehead. I am an attorney here at Lee Summit. And most of my practice involves representing religious organizations and religious people to the courts. It has been my privilege to do that in places all over the United States Supreme Court and courts of Missouri. And let me just say, it's good to come home to where I'm here and attend the Church of Abundant Life, and I'm a resident here and have grown up here. It's good to come home where religious freedom is just common sense. It's not always common sense every place else, but it has been my experience here. So I'm grateful for the mayor and for Andrew and others like him that have put in these efforts to ensure that religious freedom remains common sense in a place like this.
Jeff Cox, pastor at Abundant Life Church, and just want to say thank you to the mayor and the council for this opportunity this evening.
Rick Maupin, one of the pastors at Community of Christ of Woods Chapel. I have seen from my past work for our church around the world in many nations, I've seen both sides of this, and I've seen how beneficial it can be when various religious organizations of different stripes work together. But I've also seen the other side and how difficult that can be. So I'm very pleased and proud to be a part of a community that's supporting such a cause.
My name is Diane Maupin. I has just stepped out of the lay pastorship at Woods Chapel Community of Christ. So still active in the congregation, but just not pastoring.
Thank you. Steve Brown, also one of the missions pastors at Abundant Life, and just getting to represent our mission that reaches out to the least of these and the underserved in our community. Thank you so much, Mayor and Council, for all of your support and what we do for those that are in need. Thank you so much.
My name is Darrell Ward. I'm a lay leader at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And Mayor, thank you very much. This is these sort of proclamations and more important, the actions behind them are what make Lee Summit a wonderful place to live. So thank you very much.
My name is Patty Ward, and I am here with my husband, Daryl. I just think it's wonderful to see so many people working together. Teamwork makes the dream work.
Stephen Blake with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for receiving us and this proclamation. I worked on the team that helped to kind of spearhead and try to pass this effort along, and we're very excited to see the adoption and the interest that peaked as a result of this. And just thank you and all those who are joining with us from other faiths. This is, standing united is what it's all about. We can make making through things together. So just glad to be here.
My name is Sarah Falker. I'm Andrew's wife and also a member and lay leader of the women's organization in the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints. And so thank you, Mayor and Council, for doing this. And I love and I'm proud of our community.
Thank you. I am Helen Shipman, and I am another lay leader for the women. I've lived in Lee Summit for 5 years. I've come up in a number of other areas. And one of the first things I noticed was the support of faith. And seeing what I've seen in the world, as we said elsewhere, it really makes a difference. It's good to be part of it. Thank you very much.
I'm Sonia Kofed, and I am a participant of the Lee Summit Ministerial Alliance. I love being a part of that. I've only lived in this area for a couple of years. We have a business in Lee Summit. And this is my husband, Carvel.
Carvel Kofed, and I am also a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I want to express my appreciation for valuing religious freedoms and valuing and having as part of our values religious overtones, which are so important for our communities. Thank you.
I'm Glenn, member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Happy to be here, and thank you for all that you do.
Ken Glenn, part of from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, part of the Ministerial Alliance. I have been part for, more than 20 years, and I love the work that we do, and it's great to see work like this going forward. So, Mayor and City Council, thank you so much for your support.
All right, and thank you for coming as well. I won't make you talk, but thank you. Appreciate it.
They might be willing.
Oh, you got any secrets about your dad? I know he was a wrestler already. You don't have to tell me that. I wouldn't tangle with him, that's for sure. So we're going to take a photo. Thank you all for coming very much. Really appreciate it. Thanks for the proclamation, the way you put this together and worded it. I hear she is. So can we?
Little's in the front.
Apologize so I can fit in. There we go. And can you fit his head? Thank you all. Steve Blake was one of the members there, and he just got appointed to the Housing Authority, and they're going to be meeting, I think, tomorrow night. Is that right, Steve? Yes. Start tomorrow night. So. They got a bunch of work to do too. All right. Where are we? We have one more thing, and then we'll get to you guys. Sorry. Mr. Dunning, do we have a special guest here tonight?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, for a little bit of time to introduce, proud to introduce, the Lee Summit Visitors Bureau new Executive Director, Ms. Corey Day. She has joined the ranks of the city on the big snow day, actually, of all things, so last Monday. We thought it'd be fitting to introduce Corey at this joint session because as the Executive Director of the Visitors Bureau, she'll have a lot of involvement with the parks and with the city and with numerous other stakeholders and community partners throughout the city. So thank you for allowing us time. I'll briefly introduce Corey and see if she'd like to share a few words. She's very familiar with the area. She's spent time at Independence, working for Independence, the City of Independence. She's spent time as the Executive Director of the Missouri Travel Alliance. She spent over 22 years of experience in the tourism industry. So she's well versed in these areas. She's also kind of cut her teeth, I would say, down in Columbia while going to school down there, working in the hotel and this type of industry. She also has served as the Vice President in Sales and Services for Visit Kansas City. So as you would imagine, she's crossed paths with many. And I would say that's one of her main goals. She's on a mission right now to cross paths with as many as she can. And I will speak on her behalf, and I know this, that relationships matter. And she knows that, and so she's working really hard on getting in front of folks and building relationships to what I would venture to say, and I know we talked about this at the council level, what's a Visitors Bureau do? Think of it like our engine, right? Selling Lee Summit to those that don't have an awareness, attracting them here, showing them this awesome community we just heard about here in Lee Summit, and creating more opportunities for all businesses, all things Lee Summit. So I'll be quiet, and Corey, if you'd like to share a few words. I'm excited about having her on board so she can continue this mission that we're on.
Thank you so much. As Mark said, my name's Corey, and I'm super excited to be here. I can't thank everybody that gave me the opportunity to be part of such a wonderful community. So I'm looking forward to, as he said, meeting as many people as I can, figuring out where those partnerships are so that we can build an amazing Visitors Bureau, just like the other amazing things that you all have in the works. Every time I meet with somebody, I hear something new that's coming to Lee Summit or something big and exciting that's happening. So as I said, I'm just thrilled to have the opportunity to represent such an amazing community. So I look forward to getting to know everyone. And if there's a place I should be that you think I need to be there, please let me know. I will get there, and I'm just excited to get started. So thank you.
Well, welcome and thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done. Yes, sir. Were you going to say something?
See if you had a question for her.
Oh, anybody got a question? You want to put Ms. Day on the spot with having only been, how long you been in your spot?
6 days.
6 days. You've learned a lot about us, though.
I'll do my best.
Are you going to quiz her?
No, Mr. Dunning wanted me to quiz
I want
her.
to know her favorite Christmas movie or something.
Oh, I do want to know your favorite Christmas movie. Yeah, no, I'm off my game. This is not where I'm usually up there, and I'm usually more organized, but I won't do that to you unless you know what the greatest Christmas movie of all time is.
Well, there's two answers. There's one, if you're talking comedy, it's Christmas Vacation completely. If it's classic, it's A Wonderful Life.
Oh, you're so good. You're really good. You're really good at your job, I can tell.
Is that it?
So, anyway,
All right.
well, thank you again.
Thank you so much.
All right. Okay, so we will go now to the reason that we have so many park board members here, which is the presentations portion of the meeting. All right, President of the board, Jim Huser. We do this to build relationships, which I'm really pleased with these park board members that you have, and you're the president now. I got to work with former President Bibbins and former President Allenbach. There she is, Allenbach over here. Just a wonderful group of civic leaders in the room. But we appreciate everything you're doing. We did have a great year, I think, with regard to a lot of decision-making where we were making decisions with you. You were making decisions and then forwarding it over to us saying, hey, we need your support here. I think we have the one item we're going to be talking about is the Longview property that needed to be purchased. Another item is, of course, the field house, which is really exciting. That's going to be a big project, and that's should be moving forward. And then the other one is the park impact fee. That was a big one. That was a hard one. Another hard one where we were really struggling with, what's the right decision, and we talked that one through, I don't know, 3 meetings. It was at least 3 different meetings, which, it did pass. So we want you to use our tax dollars wisely and as efficiently as possible. But mostly we are here to review, to talk, discuss, and to build build this collaborative relationship. So with that, do you want to say any comments? Yeah, please, sir.
Well, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. It's an honor to join you all tonight as the president of the Lee Summit Parks and Recreation Board, alongside with Mayor Baird here for this very important joint meeting between the Parks Board and the City Council. I'd like to extend my gratitude to each of you for taking the time to come together as city leaders to discuss the future of our great community. Lee Summit is a city that thrives on the strength of its people, its vision, and its commitment to progress. Our park system is a shining example of this. From well-maintained trails, playgrounds, to programs that bring families and neighborhoods together. Our parks serve as a cornerstone of our community life, They don't just enhance the quality of our life, they strengthen our identity as a city, the values, connection, health, and recreation. Tonight, we'll review some very exciting highlights of upcoming projects, and I'm reminded as I review that of how essential collaboration is to our success. Our parks, while critical on their own, are part of a large vision for Lee Summit, a vision where every decision we make contributes to the vibrant, thriving community. By working together, we ensure that Lee Summit remains a place where families want to live, businesses want to invest, and visitors want to experience. This meeting represents more than a review of plans and projects. It's an opportunity to deepen our mutual commitment to that future, or that shared vision. I look forward to the discussion ahead. The partnership will continue to build, and together as leaders, we can ensure Lee Summit's future remains as bright as it is today. Thank you all for your time.
I love it. Thank you. You act like you've done this before. Wow, that was good. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate it. What we'll do now is we'll do a roundtable. They're going to be pretty fast with regard to presentations, and then we'll try to have discussions. We'll probably, after each one, Mr. Dunning, we'll probably have a moment where we can ask you questions regarding that one. So let's start this off. It looks like we're going to begin with the topic of what we're calling on the paper here, Property Reserve, Inc., or /Suburban Land Reserve. And just for, are you going to do a brief summary of that for the crowd so that they know what's going on? Okay, because we all know what it is, but I want to make sure that those in attendance also. Mr. Elam, please.
All right, thanks. Can everybody hear me okay? Good evening, Ryan Elam, Assistant City Manager. Thanks again for the opportunity to chat with you all. I like looking at everybody when I talk to you instead of looking over here. But so I'm going to give a real brief lightning round over Property Reserve Inc. and Suburban Land Reserve Inc. and kind of get everybody up to speed with where things are at, as this is going to be, I think, an important part of it's going to be an important part of the next several years, several decades, but we'll start to see a lot more over the course of this year, I believe. The parties that are involved with this. So there's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the LDS Church. They have two entities that they control. They have Property Reserve, Inc. That is a nonprofit entity. That is the landowner of 4,200 acres or so in our community. Now they have another entity that is a for-profit entity. That's Suburban Land Reserve. Now, as this property comes online, they transfer the property from Property Reserve, Inc. over to Suburban Land Reserve, and Suburban Land Reserve then works as the master developer, and they work with individual developers to develop this property out. Now, they do this all over the country. They're one of the largest landowners in the country overall. So, of that property, where is it? So there's 4,203 acres. You can see on the map on our screen here, and there's also a packet in front of you in case you can't see the screens. But we have property in the north, property in the south. That's all that land there in red. In the north area, there's a total of 1,064 acres. What's outlined in blue is what is currently on the market, if you will. It's being represented by Newmark Zimmer. And they are actively trying to market this property for development opportunities. To date, no development opportunities have come through yet. But we are working very closely with them on land use planning as well as infrastructure. If you're familiar with this area, beautiful piece of ground, a lot of creeks run through it, so it's really hard to serve with sanitary sewer. So in order for this property to really be developed with anything outside of a farm, we've got to put a significant investment of sanitary sewer infrastructure in to even get things started. So we have worked through preliminary engineering for 2 sanitary sewer pump stations. And we are looking at moving forward with that. And that will unlock that 836 acres that's listed there. And right now the land use plan shows almost 180 of commercial, 268 for residential, and 468 of industrial properties. And those are kind of spread throughout, but the industrial area is generally this area here. Residential areas on the east side of Todd George, with more commercial and I'll say mixed use type towards the interchange. Through there. And again, in this area, as we're planning this whole area, there is a lot of consideration for parks, as well as schools and other civic uses. This area is looking at having 1 neighborhood park and 1 sub-regional park through there. Now the southern piece There's 3,141 acres total there. Again, the areas highlighted in blue, these are a little bit further out, a little bit more spread apart. That represents the amount of ground that is currently on the market through New Mark Zimmer. And again, you can see on here too what those proposed land uses are. In this area, throughout this whole 3,141 acres, there are planned to be 5 neighborhood parks and 1 regional park kind of throughout. A big piece of this property, as you can see right here, there's a, looks like an interchange. That interchange doesn't exist today. That's what we call the Hook Road interchange. That will have to go in at some point. And this property has kind of got a ridge line that runs right through here generally. And we are working through an alignment study for a major arterial that's going to take Sheer Road here, turn into Sheer Parkway, and somewhere through this property come back down and connect to Hook Road. Ultimately, that connection potentially allows a connection between 7 Highway and 49 all the way through as a major roadway. And so that alignment study is starting to wrap up, and then that will set the next portions of development for this. The property overall in general, this is a slide that I like. It is just slightly larger than Oak Grove. It's larger than Grand Valley, larger than Oak Grove, slightly smaller than Raytown and Peculiar. It's that amount of property is just over 6.5 square miles. So it puts it somewhere in the, just over the 100th largest city in the state of Missouri, if it was just on its own. So the land release process, as I mentioned previously, PRI is going to transfer that land to SLR, and they do that in what we call 5-year tranches. So the 836 acres and the 1,000 acres that they currently have on the market, that's really their first tranche. They will then sell that to individual developers, and they do 5-year releases based off marketability, availability, and then the tax considerations that they have for their entities. Anything that comes forward for this property has to go through the full rezoning, preliminary development plan, planning process, engineering process as we go forward. And really, that's the end of this kind of brief overview. As I kind of started with, where we're kind of at overall is preliminary engineering on those sanitary sewer pump stations is complete and ready to move forward to a higher stage once we get some more detailed land planning from the PRI group. And then the Sheer Parkway alignment study is wrapping up, and that will set the stage for the next pieces. And we're expecting this year to have the first pieces of this come through the development process.
Right. I'll start us off with a question too, so start thinking of your questions real quick. But like for Mr. Snook, maybe, if you wouldn't mind being part of this too. Come on over here if you wouldn't mind. So just since Mr. Elam gave the overview, we've been talking about PRI land for 6 years, basically, or more, with regard to very specifically them stating that they'd be interested in moving forward with all of this land inside our city limits. And we pushed really hard. The staff works with SLR or PRI very closely, Mr. Elam, Mr. Bushek, and more. But from the beginning, we've tried to get you involved so that you could plan. Do you feel like we've made some progress? Because I know it was really slow going the first few years. We couldn't get commitments, but it seems like lately we've made a lot of progress on. You've been able to start planning out, and you've got a relationship with SLR with staff.
Absolutely. So we meet once or twice a month. I've been involved in those meetings probably for the last several months. We've had several discussions related to parks, maybe specific locations for potential parks in the north and the south. So it's gone very well. We're having very good conversations. They have been very open to our thoughts, and I think it's continued to move forward. So, and I know that Ryan will keep me updated on those meetings. We'll continue to be there.
And can you give me your, I know I've personally just talked to you just a little bit about the fact that this land does go around the Rock Island Railroad or Rock Island Trail,
So
and we have an opportunity, maybe, don't we, to do something similar to Hartman, where you've got our park right up against the trail. So I thought maybe you could tell us, we really need to work hard to plan for this special spot, I think. So could you speak to that?
Sure. As Ryan mentioned earlier, in the south part of the PRI property, we're looking at 1 regional park and 5 neighborhood parks. Our conversation, and Ryan, thank you for the arrow there, that Rock Island is about in that northeast corner of that property. We are in deep discussion with the landowners to make sure that we can get park property right there in that corner, which would be basically adjacent to the Rock Island at Jefferson Street. The hope is that we'll be able to do a 20 to 30 acre type park there that will support it, which could be comparable to Hartman in terms of a trailhead and other amenities that I think cyclists and walkers and runners would enjoy.
Questions for Mr. Elam or Mr. Snook? Or comments? Yes, Councilmember Shields.
Can you kind of lay out what the difference between a regional, a sub-regional, and a neighborhood park is, and then how you kind of determined the number that are going to be in each of those locations?
Sure. So our neighborhood parks are more, they're going to be smaller in nature, probably anywhere between 15 and 20, 25 acres. Neighborhood park is exactly that. It's intended to serve the neighbors that are very close proximity to that space. A regional park is going to be a much larger space. In the case of the south area, we're trying to, we're looking at maybe 150 acres. Kind of put things into perspective, you know, we don't have anything in that range. Right now, Legacy's 705 acres, and then we have a lot of smaller parks, maybe in that 25 to 30 acre range. So this is going to be a regional park, 150 acres. It'll be designed in such a way that it'll serve the region, right? I mean, that's what it's there for. So there's going to be amenities that people are going to want to drive to. Sub-regional park is going to be about 60 to 70 acres, but very similar to a regional park with amenities that people want to drive to. Does that help?
And then how did you decide how many neighborhood parks you needed in each of these areas? Is it based on the number of
Sure.
rooftops?
So what we did when we looked back at this initially, Steve Casey, who will be up here a little bit later, we plotted all of our existing parks in the north area and the south area. And then we drew our 10-minute or half-mile walking distance so that our goal is to have a park within 10-minute walk of every resident of Lee Summit where feasible. So we plotted those down, put our little circles. We said, where are our holes, right? And then we started saying, okay, if we put a neighborhood park here and a neighborhood park here, are we starting to minimize those holes? And that's what we did. And knowing that we know that having a regional park in the south part of our community is very important. And so we identified 2 or 3 spots we thought a 150 acre type facility would work. And we're having those discussions now, but we think we're getting pretty close to that location. So basically, we looked at existing facilities, identified where they serve, where are the gaps, fill the gaps in with neighborhood parks and regional parks.
And I'll add to that, in the online packet, we didn't print it all out because we included some additional background information, some additional maps, some information from Newmark Zimmer. There are 2 exhibits that show kind of the preliminary location of parks, I'll say just on a big scale, so you can see the kind of the 15-minute walk area around in there in 2 separate exhibits, one for the north, one for the south.
Yes, sir. Park Board Member Crawford.
This could be a question for both of you all. Given that there's neighborhood parks going to be incorporated in here, that means neighborhoods. Are we also coordinating with the school district to determine locations of potential elementary schools, middle schools, and what that looks like for our public school system and our private school system?
Yes, yeah, we've had a lot of coordination with the LSR 7 school district as well as PRI. We've had design charrettes, location charrettes, and gone back and forth to some different locations for different facilities. Those aren't finalized yet, so I don't believe I'm at liberty to give a location out. That's not our information to give. But yes, the coordination has been very close. It's been very good coordination.
Do we know a rough impact in terms of how many residents either of these projects will bring the north and the south in terms of how many more schools we'll need, or any? I mean, I know that's more of a school district question, but to the extent that you know.
Yes, there are estimates of schools, both elementary schools, middle schools, high schools. I would let the school district answer those questions specifically. From a population perspective, with the current land plan, we're expecting anywhere from 35 to 40,000 more residents as a result of the development patterns. I will say this area in the south, the development pattern is primarily single family. I believe it's about 75% of the land area is kind of more of that single family residential use, given the nature of it, with our existing commercial corridors expecting to see benefits from that, as well as there are commercial nodes planned throughout here, particularly around the Sheer Parkway, and this area in particular that is not really shown up. That's with the connection to the Rock Island. This is identified as an activity center in our comprehensive plan, about 600 acres, I believe, total, that we're calling kind of the Rock Island Urban Center, which would be a pretty large mixed-use area for this whole walkable area with those ties to the Rock Island as well. But that piece realistically is probably going to be one of the last pieces to develop, as the housing and everything will come first.
And just so you know, Member Crawford, we also pushed for a school district to be at the table too many years ago, and I think that's very similar. They've gotten at the table and they're having input. All right, well done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is the housing discussion and initiatives. Amy Nassif is our Interim Director of Development Services. Ms. Nassif. First question. Do people buy houses next to parks?
At the parks?
Near parks. Do they want
Yes.
parks near them? Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
That was
It's
a
always a great
softball question to
amenity.
get you started.
Yes. Thank you. Amy Nassif, Interim Director of Development. It's great to be here tonight to talk about a wonderful topic of housing that we've been working so hard with the council and everyone, lots of staff members on. So just want to give you a brief overview of just some data that's kind of fun that we're looking at. And when we have been working on our housing, it's such a big topic, such an important topic. Everything that we do always ties to what the city's overall goals are and what we've heard from the city and our citizens. And so that goes back to our Ignite strategic plan, which has a lot of really wonderful and really still applicable housing goals in there. And also, and so I won't read all this to you, but also our comprehensive plan, which also has some great objectives and action items from our housing goals. And both of these documents really tie a lot to housing diversity and housing choice. So diving right in, we just talked a little bit about population. We are projected by 2040 to grow to just under 140,000 in population. We had for 2023 around 106,000, and we are working on our 2024 numbers right now, but we're going to be just over 107,200, if I remember that correctly. So we are still growing immensely, and what that means for us also is we always want to take a look at what our demographics look like in terms of our age cohorts. And so we have just under 30% of our residents under 20 years old. But we have a really large amount of our population that's 55 and over. And so what that always tells us, and what we like to look at this is, your housing changes with your different stages of life and what your housing needs are. So that's really important when we're looking at housing diversity and housing choice. And so with that housing choice and housing diversity, we like to track how much housing we have right now and what's on the market, what's in existence in Lee Summit. So we have just over 45,000 housing units right now, and that's of all different housing types. The majority, about just over 69%, is single family. And so, as you can see, and that also ties to how our homeowners are right now. We have about 75% home ownership and 25% renters in the city as well. And so again, sounds like a lot of data for us planning nerds who like data, but also really helps us with our goals and our activities around housing. So We use a lot of our sources from the ACS, or American Community Surveys. So just some quick notes here for you, and I believe most of this was in the other handout for you as well. But the average home price in Lee Summit's about $349,000. We talked about the homes that are owner-occupied versus renter-occupied, and our median household income's just over $103,000. And our household size is 2.6, which has been that way for a couple of years now as well. So we've always
Counting our fur babies?
those are the most important kind of babies, right? No, they're probably about 3.5 then if we did that. So cost burden households is something, you know, again, very important that we need to look at, especially talking about diversity, housing choice, housing options for everyone. And so we also always like to look at different cities throughout the KC Metro as well. So right now for owner occupied, we have about 15% cost burden households in Lee Summit and 46% renters are cost burden. And so you can see how that looks with some of our neighbors in the area. So what are we doing right now? We have a lot going on and a lot of initiatives and a lot of goals at Yes.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I mean, I'm in the industry, but what's cost burdened by
So
your
cost
definition?
burden, yes, cost burden means that homeowners are spending more than 30% of their income on household bills, their mortgage, their rent, their utilities. But thank you, that's a great question. And so what are we doing and what are our initiatives and some focus areas? We've had some great wins already and done some really wonderful things. Best practices from APA, ULI, and a bunch of other national organizations tell us that for housing and to really create that housing choice, there's kind of these 3 buckets. And so we've adopted those 2 that you should be looking at. And the first one is process, right? Because when you have slower processes or more complex processes, it's harder than to bring more housing on the market. And so we have made a lot of strides with some of our UDO updates this year recently with process efficiencies, also increased where we can have single-family homes in our different zoning districts, increased our density allowances in multifamily, and also created some cluster development design options for home builders. Our community engagements and partnerships. We do a lot of great work through our CDBG funding, but also with local schools, the Truman Heritage Habitat. We're also members with the Eastern Jackson County Coalition right now, Department of Health, on some housing partnerships and community-wide housing initiatives. And then economic assistance and incentives, where we're researching and looking at things like land banks, land trusts, first-time home buyer education, things of that nature. And one thing, we talk a lot about bringing more housing units on board, but we also want to look at what we call NOAHs, or naturally occurring affordable housing. We don't want to forget about our existing housing stock that's a little bit older, because as those homes age, that is some really wonderful resources that we have already on the market that can be some affordable housing units. Instead of, tearing those down, what can we do to help and encourage those older homes that we have to be rehabbed, rehabilitated, renovated, and things of that nature, because then it creates an already existing affordable home for many people. And 27% of our homes were built before 1980. Doesn't sound like that long ago, but then when you think about it, it is like over 45 years. So yes, those aging homes are important to not disregard. The 80 seemed like just last week to me, though, so I understand.
Oh my gosh,
Stop.
You're killing me here.
I'm a 70s kid, so I know. So we also have Communities for All Ages plan is something through MARC, or Mid-America Regional Council, and we do have gold status with that recognition, which is awesome. And our Communities for All Ages plan is that initiative to look at that whole series of our lives, right? So starting from when we're young and as we're getting a little bit older, what are our housing needs and how can we help and assist with that so that everyone has some housing choice options so they can stay in Lee Summit, close to amenities, close to their services, close to their families. So we're doing a lot of research and looking into things with universal design, working with our wellness committee, getting out in partnerships with the community as well. And that's also a great help. So that was all I had. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
We're going to have questions, but before we start, like this stat that you have on here on the last page that says currently approximately 62% of teachers in the LSR 7 school district, 36% of police officers, and 33% of firefighters live in Lee Summit. So you track that kind of data, or where do you get this data from?
We do. We work either get through the ACS and also talk directly to those entities.
Okay.
Because those are, in addition to like those in the healthcare industry, are considered the workforce, right?
Right.
And so that gets into the missing middle and the smaller single family.
Yeah, but when you say
kind of
missing middle, you're talking about home ownership.
home ownership.
So are these home ownership numbers? You said live, because it could be
Well, these are
renting.
just live. These are just live. They could
Live.
rent or they could also,
Right. Okay.
they could also own.
Yeah, I'd be curious about the other stats, but not
Sure.
right now, but later on. Yes, Councilmember Rader.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to make note of the paragraph here where it says 46% of renters are cost burdened. So I'm going to say that we know the reason for that, because renters don't have control over what they pay per month. They're controlled by the owners, the investors of those properties. So I'm saying that as a push of why it's so important that we get more attainable homes here. And then I want to thank you for this work that you've done, because I know you've worked on it very hard, and we've had a lot of discussions about this. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate all the work that you've done on this. And you keep bringing these things before us so that we can be aware of it and recognize that, we need to continue to try to make home ownership happen for more. And then I want to add one more thing. I had a conversation with David Bushak yesterday. It was a really good conversation, and you made the comment about the older homes and how we want to keep those refreshed.
Yes.
So that we continue to, because that is an affordable option for people, is our older homes that we have here in Lee Summit. And he said that in some of the surrounding cities, he worked on a refresh program. So I'd like to look more into that we could maybe do here in Lee Summit to help our residents keep their homes up.
Yeah, that's great. We're actually in the middle of doing that work as well. I used to work in a community that had a program like that as well, to refresh and rehab neighborhoods and work with the Casey Area Realtor Association too. So they're wonderful resources. Sometimes people look too much at building new, and we need to remind that we have some great housing stock already in existence too, to improve people's quality of life.
Thank you, Mayor.
You bet. I think that those are great points. They are the affordable ones, the ones built in the 80s, some of those split entries and raised ranches. But that missing middle creates an opportunity for them to buy, for those owners to buy something that frees up those homes. So let's keep working on this missing middle. I know it's been brought up before, but thank you for your work. Any other questions before I let Ms. Nassif go? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well, I see Mr. McGuire coming up. Yes, he is on the list. He's going to talk about Green Street Update. That is our downtown Market Plaza performance venue. And if you haven't noticed, right outside those windows out there, you can't see it now, there's a big building that went up, and there are some big metal beams for a canopy now up. It's getting exciting. So we are a little over, or right about 6 months away from being completed. Tell us all about it, Mr. McGuire.
All right, well, Mr. Mayor, you stole my thunder because I was going to make a joke about nothing happening over there, right? So as the mayor stated, my name's Shannon McGuire. I'm the planning manager for the city. With me, I have Shara Bloom. She's our Central Building Services project manager, as well as Assistant City Manager Ryan Elam, so you can field any questions you may have. Just a real quick history on this project. This project is 18 years in the making. Way back in 2007, beginning with our cultural arts plan, was when they kind of first started talking about a farmer's market, event space. Again, in 2012, the cultural facilities master plan had some conversations and identified that as a need for our community. In 2013, the voters went out and approved a $600,000 part of a general obligation bond for the creation of the downtown performance and festival space. And then we moved forward to between 2013 and 2020, that we had several different studies, site studies, public meetings, trying to identify where to place that. And then in 2021, the site was kind of identified. Council and the mayor approved or named Lane 4 as our master developer. And then 22, GLMP was identified as the master architect. So overall, the project you see out there today is about a $44 million project. Of that, 30% of that is underground with utility relocates and infrastructure work. So a lot of that we'll never even see, but it had to be done to move a lot of pipes and stormwater improvements. So there are multiple portions of the project. Starting off with the Green Street Market, commonly referred to as the farmers market. As you can see here in kind of this middle here, farmers market event space. This is where the farmers market will be held. It is also, when it's not in use as a farmers market, is a rentable space for event space. You can host maybe a Chiefs Super Bowl party there, a World Cup watch party. A lot of different opportunities there. This particular space is about 14,000 square feet. Has enough room for 50 vendors. Each one of those vendors is a 10 by 10 stall with 20-foot aisles, so plenty of room to move around and operate in. During the better weather months, we can roll up the garage doors. Each side, the north and south side, are all lined with garage doors, so those can be rolled up. We can expand that to another 50 vendors underneath the outdoor performance area. So with that performance area is named Green Street Lawn. Again, it's where we'll hold a bunch of performances, some programming. There'll be synthetic turf underneath there, so it'll be a nice green lawn. Got that nice overhead canopy that you kind of see being installed now. This will serve as various functions during festivals and community celebrations. We can program this space for a lot of different uses, exercise classes, some family-friendly into entertainment, yard games, art expositions, and much other stuff as well. Moving on, Green Street Grove, which is this center in pink here. It's kind of our streetscape pavilion. This is kind of the gateway into the project, right? It's designed to invite people into that area. It's kind of a park-like setting. There's a series of kind of metal, what we call the wickets in this area. These are kind of these architecturally designed kind of arches. So it'll be nice lighting on that, some panels, art panels on there. A lot of public art in this area. Kind of walk through. There are a lot of pad sites. There is also an immersive kind of a kids playground area there. And I do want to point out that Parks and Rec was a big help with this, because as smart as we are, none of us on the team has ever designed a playground. So we did reach out to Joe Snook and Steve Casey, and they did provide a lot of help and a lot of comments, so we make sure we got that right. So big thanks to them. Again, this area is programmable, much like the outdoor performance space. We'll have classes, entertainment, yard games, and possible other sites or other uses. Multiple pad sites for future development. We have a pad site for a hotel with possibly retail there, kind of down on 3rd Street, as well as a restaurant site up here on 2nd and Green, and some housing site for future housing. So, like I said, lots of public art throughout the project as well. A couple notes on that. We are going out for some murals to be painted inside the parking garage staircase, as well as some art panels to go on the front of the farmers market building. We did limit those to local artists, so we can have some local representation with that. So we are going through the process of selecting that now. Some of the other art that we'll have out there is the emergence sculpture. So here's kind of the emergence sculpture that many of you are kind of familiar with. This is a piece made by local resident Dave Eames. It is also a time capsule. This particular piece was constructed and set in 2050 originally. It is in storage right now and is going through a restoration process and will be installed again shortly before the opening. The Raptor everyone's favorite raptor. It is coming back, and we will have a site for it as well, kind of over near the kids' playground. Kids love this one. Some fun facts on this one. It's over 10 feet long and weighs over 220 pounds. So it's a good size. So with that, the big art piece that was chosen as the gateway sculpture is entitled "Everything Changes with a Dream." This particular piece is by an artist named Heath Sato. It's inspired by the, and I'm going to butcher this, Samora, or the helicopter seed from the local native sugar maple. And it represents the vibrant future and the city's roots, where the community can grow together. It's made out of stainless steel and some translucent panels. The bottom seed portion is internally illuminated, so at night it will cast a nice glow. And it'll be a nice piece there. It's located right there at the intersection of Old Green Street that was removed and 3rd Street. So it'd be a nice kind of meeting local point that would be very identifiable. And that will be installed spring of 2025 for their opening. So everyone, construction highlights, as like I said, the steel canopy is going up. It's a very noticeable piece. That should be up and completed in about a week or two. The structure itself, the actual roof itself, we have to wait for the weather to warm up a little bit because it's got to be stretched, so it's got to be a little bit warmer for us to do that. Brick is being installed on the building as we currently speak. If you look on the south side, it's a little hard to see, but there's a tent over the south side right now. It's being installed behind the scaffolding and the tenting. It's heated in there so they can do that. That should take about another week or two to get that side done, and they're going to move to the front side that faces City Hall here. So hopefully we'll be able to see that. That particular brick and the color of the brick was chosen specifically to kind of help emulate or kind of pay homage to the historic brick we have downtown. Second-story windows are going to be going in the next week or so some very visible improvement up there. That should take a week or two. Internally, sheetrock is being hung. So the finishing work is getting close to moving along in there. The film, if you guys have been in City Hall here and you look out over the project, there's a protective film, opaque film on the windows. So that should be coming off here soon. Once the weather starts warming up and as time allows, they'll be able to peel that. So that film is put on there to protect the glass when they were pouring the concrete and doing the other construction right there. All the concrete's poured, about the only thing they have left there is just do some plantings and some pavers as well. So, and everybody is interested at 3rd Street and Green intersection there that we got closed down. The weather really kind of put a damper on the movement of that. Our original hope was to have that open December, but with the weather, it came to a screeching halt. So the curbs are in, looking to pour at the end of this week, beginning of next week. Hopefully have that intersection open up the next 2 weeks with full street openings end of February, beginning of March. So with that, everyone sees the bottles on the tables here. So these were actually dug up during the grading and excavation process out there. So fun fact, this whole site used to be a dump. And most of these bottles date back to around the 1920s. You signed the waiver, right?
Cleaned them up.
Yeah. So we got an old ketchup bottle. There's an old Lysol bottle running around in there. There's an old Clorox bottle. Some interesting pesticide bottle. There's a Banker's Ink bottle from Kansas City that's marked from Kansas City. So there's some interesting. I have about 4 to 5 boxes large. You wait to the end. 4 to 5 large boxes of bottles that were salvaged or saved to hopefully, or not hopefully, we are in the process of designing a interpretive piece to kind of showcase the history of the area that will be located on the inside of the Market Plaza as well. So with that, I'll answer any questions.
Questions? Yes, Councilmember Shields.
Mostly want to comment that I'm just really excited about this project moving forward, which I say every single time it's on the agenda. It's been such a long time in process, and I'm really proud of our council and the mayor for seeing this through, and it's going to be wonderful. My only question is the Raptor. can we name her? I didn't say it because it's obviously a girl, right? And I would propose Sally. That's what we always call her.
Hunter,
So I don't know if we want to consider maybe a naming contest at some point, but I think that would be great.
I love the idea. I'm sure we can make something happen.
Other questions or comments? Yes? No?
Mayor, if I could add just
Yes,
just
Mr.
a couple
Elo.
of real quick things. One, huge amount of thank you needs to go out to really everybody, everybody on the council, everybody on one of our, even our boards and commissions, and the staff that we've got working on this project. It's like Shannon mentioned, it's been a long time in the making. It is going to be something that's going to be really unique to our community. But a couple of other really quick updates. We are kind of finalized with the branding package, so there'll be some more information coming out about what the branding package of Green Street looks like. We had a lot of discussion over the color. If you go back to the rendering with the yeah, so we have been showing the front of the market there with that kind of cool design in there as being red. Well, for some reason, there was some thought that maybe we shouldn't have it be red with it being called Green Street. So that actually has changed slightly. The pattern's changed slightly. So it's going to be a base of white. It's a white base, but it's got color-changing LEDs behind it that are going to look really cool at night when we're able to get that up. And then the big signage and everything that you see on there, it says Downtown Market Plaza. We're working with Fossil Forge on all the signage package for down here. There was a procurement process and they won the contract, but there's going to be some really cool, iconic signage, not only for the market itself, but for the parking garage and the corner of City Hall that are going to be pretty neat.
We've
that
been
are
waiting
part
for
of
that
this.
for a long time.
We have. So they're working on the final design, so we're not ready to share anything to have those out yet, but it's coming up very soon, and they're going to be fabricating that, and then we'll see all those going up. Exciting stuff.
I just want to say I personally love the irony of having a big sign that said Green Street and it being red. Whether you love it or hate it is a conversation piece, but it's going to be great either way.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. McGuire, Mr. Elam. Well done. And we've got one more topic for the city. I mean, it's almost public safety, oriented between all the public safety issues plus also the roads. Mr. Park, tell us about the no tax increase bond project and public safety sales tax initiative updates.
Good evening. Yeah, Michael Park, Director of Public Works. I'll handle the NTIB no tax increase bond issue, and Chiefs will handle PSST. So I'll go through this with the limited time we have fairly quickly, but I'm referencing materials that were in your packet. And for those maybe watching online, all the packet materials are available so you can see exactly what we're talking from. This bond issue was approved about 20 months ago. It doesn't even feel like it's been that long, but 20 months ago, a lot has already happened. And that every project, every capital project, whether it be facility or one of the $98 million roadway projects, are all in the capital improvement plan. So what that means is that we've now put them to a fiscally constrained timeline to begin work sometime within the next 5 years. Some of these will be done within the next 5 years. Some of them are already done, as I'll touch base on. And so I'm just going to go through the question by question and kind of highlight some of the major work that's been done, starting with the Joint Operation Facility and Police Station Phase 2 project. It's under construction. So we're going through a design build process, so there was a lot of work that was happening while we were building those design plans, and they started work, and now it's full go on both of those facilities. With the intention that we'll have those delivered, I would guess sometime around May of next year. Trying to get that done so it's a facility for use for World Cup, which starts in that late June time period. Also looking down that list of emergency preparedness, police substation down, reuse of the old fire station is also under construction with anticipated that will be done. I think they've gutted the interior at this point and should be completed sometime this summer with that job. Kind of down some others, one of the emergency preparedness, but also tethered to transportation with some acquisitions up around the airport. And we have acquired probably the more substantial piece of property that's closed, that's now in the city's ownership. That will be the location of Fire Station 8. And I believe it's our intention to begin design work, because part of the bond issue funded design for Station 8, along with an airport rescue facility. Sometime after we get through some of the other major projects, facility projects in particular, we'll kick off that design. And really the last facility project that I wanted to mention was with regard to Station 1. And we're still going through the site assessment process. We've already made a determination to rebuild as opposed to renovate, but we haven't yet arrived on a location, whether it's where it's at now or elsewhere. On the transportation side of our project list, Mr. Elam referred to the alignment study. That alignment study will be critical for Shear Parkway as it identifies really where the fork in Shear Road and Shear Parkway sets on the existing Shear Road so that we know what kind of typical road section we'll be designing as we rebuild all of Shear Road. It also includes the alignment study of Longview Parkway, north of Shear Road up to Longview Road. And so both of those, we need to know where the alignments are so that we can begin that design work. And I imagine we'll start that first phase of Shear Road reconstruction, probably design work beginning later this year, probably late summer. We're also now issued design. Design has started on Douglas south of downtown to Blue Parkway, so 4th Street all the way to Blue Parkway. That design contract's been issued and work is underway. Hangar 2 is under construction too, with the delivery expected by, I think, next August, just in time for the LSR 7 to open their aviation academy, which is in partnership with the city, and use part of that hangar space. And then we're also programming sidewalk gap programs as part of our other sidewalk gaps. We had already an established program, and so this just added additional funds to make that program go further. And then on some of the city facility reinvestments, the exterior renovations over the historic museum have been completed. And then some of the others are kind of ongoing basis. We're doing repairs to different facilities. And then probably the bigger cost item that's in that list is the new ERP system. It's really what makes our government run. Think of all your billing systems, permitting, all of the ERP. We're on schedule to deliver that by the end of the fiscal year. And with that, I'll hand this off to Chief to talk about PSST, but I'm available for any questions.
When you implement that, is that going to be a mess for a little bit, or is it going to be nice, seamless integration?
The ERP system?
Yeah.
It's a challenge, and we expect it to be, yes, a challenge.
All right.
But we're committed to being a clean transfer. So we're doing a lot of duplicative work right now, so you have to build the new system and build in our current system so that we have a clean switch.
Okay. Excellent.
Mayor, members of council, park board members, Travis Forbes, the chief of police. Again, you have before you some public safety sales tax information, and I'll really just highlight some of the police items on there that are applicable most to probably the parks in your realm of the world. On that sheet, you'll see equipment in a general sense for police and fire. One of the things that we have continue to work on but have made some improvements in is our citywide camera system. We have cameras deployed throughout downtown, in our city facilities, in the parking garage, places like that. And I know there have been instances we've worked with Mr. Snook over here on issues that have occurred in the parks and have included parks cameras in some cases where we see an issue. So that's just an example of how the city kind of works together on these issues. Even though it's a public safety sales tax, we're all invested in public safety. Another thing is occasionally you'll hear about unhoused individuals in our parks, and that's an issue that we have addressed with a mental health liaison assigned to the police department. He's done some outstanding things. In fact, at our most recent city event, he won an award for service excellence for the city. Officer Iceberg. We don't feel like, first of all, we don't feel like that's completely a police issue. It is definitely an issue that involves multiple sectors of the city, not just the city government as well. So it kind of goes outside of what we can control, so to speak, but we look at it very much from a service need type of issue. So we're constantly working with our partners in Rediscover. We're in conversations right now of how we can expand that program and do even better for folks who are in need. So occasionally we hear about those issues in the parks. Our crime reduction team, I should say too, we focused quite a bit in the early part of our public safety sales tax on buying things and hiring civilians because that was easy. So hiring police officers continues to be pretty difficult pretty competitive. So we are currently 13 police officers short. We've been about at that mark for last couple of years, and we try extremely hard to recruit and retain folks. And actually, we're still doing better than a lot of agencies around us. But we have plans in the next, stay tuned, in the next budget cycle to redouble our efforts to work on that. But a crime reduction team we currently have is, we consider that our problem-oriented policing unit. And we're planning on creating a second team to have 7 days a week coverage for our city. So again, when we talk about parks, a good example is a couple of years ago, we had a rather violent incident occur in one of our parks. We sat down with park staff, we talked about it, and our crime reduction team was part of the solution. They established a presence with private security, and knock on wood, things have definitely improved, and we haven't had any repeats of the issues that we've had. So that has happened not just in one park, but in several parks. Whenever there's an issue, we'll use our patrol resources, but our crime reduction team resources too. So they definitely try to dig into the root of the problem and try to figure out how to address those issues. And finally, you wouldn't think of it, but our virtual reality training system is something we're excited about, and something that could apply to parks. The system that we're leaning towards was developed in Los Angeles, and you can actually take any part of your city, interior, exterior, and develop virtual reality space to work in. So if we had a problem at the new Green Street area and we wanted to train for emergency response, we could actually map that area out, create a virtual reality training space, and have our officers operate in whatever event that we wanted to create. So that's something we could do with our parks, or any new parks facilities that open up as well, any school. So we're pretty excited about getting that on board probably within the next year. So I don't know if you have any questions for police. If not, I'll go to our
Questions
fire
for Chief
chief.
Forbes? I know you're investing in drones too. That's been a big topic a few times this year. You're using those really effectively, especially for events. And
Absolutely.
I think, you know, I think council, I can speak for council when I say that we're pretty supportive of that type of technology and such.
Yes. We're definitely investing in technology, but it's awfully expensive. I will say that though. But we've really dedicated ourselves to use that as a force multiplier and help us in significant emergency responses. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mike Snyder. Just going to add a few things just to update you on our progress within the public safety sales tax. Several of these items, some of them I get to provide updates on, but we completed in 2023, including the hiring of 24 personnel to staff our 7th ambulance and to bring our 8th fire apparatus on service. In addition, we were able to begin staffing 24-hour prevention personnel. Prevention doesn't stop after 5 o'clock each night, so bringing that staff on has been a huge asset to that division, not only helping their day-to-day Monday through Friday work, but also our evening and after hours. In addition to that, we were able to bring online a live fire training facility in October of 2024, so that has been very active, and staff have been very excited getting used to it. In perfect planning, the boats arrive next week, so I doubt we'll have them out on the water here too quickly, but whenever that water does open up, we'll be excited to get those out and show everybody. In addition, the last item on our public safety sales tax list is our fire station alerting. We're actively working with that vendor as they do some connection pieces to our current computer-aided dispatch system, and we hope to see that go online here in the 2025 at some point. So that really wraps up a majority of the projects that we educated the public on that we'd be using for the public safety sales tax. And thanks to Michael Parks and Chief Forbes, they answered everything else. So available for anything you need.
Oh, you guys are a great team. We love the fact that you all work together because, I mean, we're putting the traffic operations under one roof to help with public safety, and hopefully that helps even the fire as well, as far as the getting your fire trucks where they need to go as quickly as possible, and the ambulances and such. So thanks for all your hard work. Questions, anybody for Chief Snyder? Thank you, sir. All right, that takes us through the city's presentations. Now we're going to go to the Parks Board. Mr. Casey's head this way. Mr. Casey.
Good evening, Mayor, Park Board President Huser, City Council members, Park Board members. Appreciated the time this evening. Steve Casey, I'm the Superintendent of Park Planning and Construction. So I want to take you through some of our projects, a little bit of a look back to 2024. 2024 was really the year of the neighborhood park for the Parks Department. We made pretty substantial investments in our neighborhood parks: Williams Grant, Lower Banner, Woods Playground, Wadsworth, about a $750,000 investment in those 4 parks. I think the feedback we generally received was very positive. Making investments in our neighborhoods and our smaller parks that are important to our communities, I think, was received very receptively. We continue on with our playground surface replacement program. We've made about a $500,000 investment in 4 parks. We'll continue to do that. We are in year 2 of 5-year plan to totally resurface and redo our playgrounds. We're putting in synthetic turf in substitute for the wood mulch. And what that's helping us do is reduce a lot of maintenance. It's creating better accessibility. It's just generally a cleaner look. So I think that's been very well received. And finally, of course, was mentioned the park impact fee. That funding will start in July 1 of 2025. I think this is vitally important in terms of how we look at supporting park infrastructure going forward with future development of PRI properties that were mentioned. So the more parks that we are developing, as kind of outlined in some of those the maps that were presented, we will be building more parks, and parks is really critical infrastructure, I think, to our community. So I wanted to highlight some upcoming projects, and I'll work through these fairly quickly. Resource Recovery Park, I think some of you have some familiarity with this. We've been working with our Public Works Department, our Department of Natural Resources. The park, the landfill closed several years ago, and so we've been working over the last 4 or 5 years to prepare a master plan. We've had a staff team along with a board member, Mr. Bivens, joined us on some site tours that we've made to other converted landfill to parks projects across the country, Virginia, Iowa, Florida. So we've seen these parks, these redevelopment projects. I would say that in some of our research, I think we found that these are really landmark type of projects and would be very unique to the community. I think would probably garner quite a bit of national recognition and acknowledgement, provided that we move forward with the project. So kind of give you an overview of this. We selected a consultant team back in 2021. We kind of did this during the COVID crisis. We were working virtually with our consultants. We did a lot of master planning. What's unique about the site is there's 2 or 3 different areas that we're really focused on. One being the landfill dome, which is very limited in terms of park amenities because of the environmental impact and regulations. But there's also space to the east and to the south that can be more traditional park development. So we worked through that process. We had a consultant team with very good knowledge of previous projects that they'd worked on, very similar projects, and also some engineers that had some very good familiarity with this site as a whole. This picture here is just sort of some imagery of potential park development, both in the landfill dome area, the passive areas, in addition to some potential areas that could have more active recreation. So the potential for playgrounds, trails, disc golf, even using some of that elevation change to create some stair climbing or rock climbing amenities. Of course, all this would go through a permitting process with DNR. So we've used the knowledge from some of these other visits that we've made to park facilities in other locations that are built on landfills as kind of a model to look at the programming for this site. Our next steps, and really over the next 12 or 18 months, I think we want to zero in is formalizing an agreement between the city and LSPR for looking at how we program and develop the site. We want to generate some community input. We will hire a consulting team. There is funding in our CIP over the next 3 to 5 years that will address the first phase of development of the project. We do need, as I mentioned, bring MDNR into the review process. There's a process that we'll need to go through, and we've been over the past several years, we've been progressively kind of keeping them up to date in terms of what we're looking to do. And with the funding model that we've established in our CIP, I think we've got a pretty good game plan established. We'll jump really quickly to the Longview master plan. We're very excited about this project because we're looking at pickleball at this location. We have recently acquired, or in the process of acquiring, the 13 acres from Metropolitan Community College in Longview for the portion, and just for perspective, if you know where the baseball field is, that is the property that we're acquiring from the college. And we're looking at essentially developing a destination park at that location. The first phase of that will be somewhere between 8 and 12 pickleball courts. Will include shade, lighting, fencing. The reason we keyed in on this site is because we've got the availability of parking, we've got good access, and it's somewhat protected from noise and some of the issues that you're seeing nationally with pickleball courts and the criticism of installation of these types of facilities that impact noise and residents. And so for a lot of reasons, we feel like this is an ideal location. And we also feel like it will be one of the premier pickleball complexes in the metro area. So we're very excited about that. We've been researching other facilities. We're moving forward with this. It is in the budget. We've solicited a lot of input from the community, particularly our local pickleball group. It's a rapidly growing sport, as most of you know, and this is, I think, will kind of represent, by building a complex, kind of an ideal situation for the player groups. It's a very social sport. They like to gather in groups and play in groups, and so we feel like this is a good solution. I touched on a lot of the specifics in the phase one with the pickleball complex. We anticipate, we are in the early phases of design right now. We're in the process of getting the master plan approved through our park board. The funding is in place. We will begin design, and I would anticipate construction. The message that we're delivering to our community is it will be under construction this summer, hopefully open by early fall. So some other future development concepts that we're looking at Longview to kind of support the idea of this is a destination park, a destination facility. Of course, we do operate the community center now. These improvements will, I think, generate momentum to do some additional improvements. What we want to look at in a second phase is do a large destination playground, park shelter with restrooms, walking trails, interpretive areas. There's one particular area on the site that has the potential of, if we build it with some elevation, have just great views of the lake. And we want to do some ADA parking improvements with the facility to improve accessibility to the building. Yes, Mayor.
Are you gonna, I'm looking at your renderings, and I know they're just renderings, so, but are you gonna have like a concession area so that, I mean, you're gonna host tournaments here and stuff, pretty big tournaments probably on the weekends and such. Will you have an area for that, or can you at least design it so that you could bring food trucks in or something to be able to accommodate, those tournaments?
Yeah, I'd maybe draw you back to the That's a good question, Mayor. Yes, there will be an opportunity to do some food truck stations it's a little bit off this map, but tied into the south end of the parking lot. So we would look at some food trucks and stations. That would fulfill some of the concession opportunities. I think we will, from an operation standpoint, we're doing a lot of research on that right now and asking for feedback from our player groups is what's a priority for you? Is it concessions? Is it restrooms? Is it things like a reservation system for the courts? Really what we want to do is we want to encourage groups to play, leagues, tournaments, but we want to keep some of the courts open for recreational play as well.
Just real quick, if you look to the south and to the east on the parking lot, you can see that we put the food truck area in there, so we are planning to maybe have those opportunities available. We have tournaments, that kind of thing out there. So it is on the plan, and we're hoping that we're going to be able to deliver that.
Councilmember Pryor.
Thank you. Do you guys plan on having any of the refillable water stations? I wish they were at every park, because we do not have near enough at any of our parks.
So we're gradually replacing those drinking fountains with bottle fillers. So that is in addition to this location. We're sort of phasing out the older models with COVID and just a replacement system. I anticipate that we probably in the next 3 to 5 years probably have a lot of our drinking fountains in our parks replaced with the bottle filler system. Not just bottle filler, but ADA access, regular drinking fountain, dog fountain. It's got it's the Taj Mahal of the drinking fountains.
That's good to hear. What about, and legacy too, like all the softball and baseball fields?
We would certainly be looking at that, yeah.
Oh, I hope, because we need them. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, keep going, sir.
Touch on Bailey Farm Park and Nature Center. We acquired this property. The Bailey family donated this to the Parks Department back in 2000. And so sat idle for several years. We had done a master plan in 2016 that included a visitor center, display gardens, event space, playground, trails, interpretive areas. This overhead image is something that was prepared by our consultant. Shortly thereafter, we've been kind of taking on some low-hanging fruit projects with this site. One of the items that we looked at was installation of community gardens. So we have 48 plots out there right now, and that's a fairly successful operation where our community can rent a plot, a 10 by 10 space, and do gardening. And that also is a very social, interactive kind of feature in our parks. Now, we do have funding established in our CIP to move this project forward. It is a fairly extensive scope. It includes a small visitor center, but also development of some interpretive garden space, possibly construction of a barn that could be an event space, playground, walking trails, additional interpretive areas, maybe a small little landscaped amphitheater that could be out there, parking improvements. Now, for perspective, this is adjacent to the elementary school out there off of Ranson Road, just to the north. This kind of gives you an overview of the master plan, kind of an overhead view. You get some perspective of the size of the site, where we've got sort of an intensity of activities on the extreme east end of the property along Ranson Road. But then it sort of, it becomes more passive as you go and kind of opens up to the west. I would point out that this site is in very close proximity to landfill, so there's potential for trail connections between the two sites. When we get to a point where we'll be developing these sites, that there's a connection opportunity through what is identified as a Browning property, a city-owned property. So trail connections for us are one of the biggest things we do for our community. And if we can connect parks to parks, that is, we're hitting high marks there. Here's some imagery of the Nature Center. We will be revisiting some of this in a very short period of time, probably the next 6 months to a year with our consultant, just to update our cost estimates, our scope, see if there's anything that's changed in terms of priority for our community with this site. But it's agricultural themed, but we want to bring people out here, have them be part of festivals and activities that kind of play off of that agricultural theme. And we do intend to move forward with this project in the short term. The last project I'd mention, Safety Town. We get a lot of questions. What is Safety Town? Now, if you've been a resident here for a long time, you remember the Safety Town out at Harris Park, the little track that we had out there that taught some traffic skills to elementary school children, bike, pedestrian safety, bicycle safety, traffic safety out there. When we built the pool, it sort of got swallowed up, and we needed the area for our Summit Waves Aquatics facility. Safety Town, we are ginning this back up. We have spent considerable amount of time looking at some facilities down in Texas, Frisco, Texas, and Coppell, Texas, who operate a Safety Town, very high-end types of facilities. So what we're going to be doing over the next few months is we're in the process of selecting a consultant to help us with the design and looking at a couple of sites, one of which would be the Longview property. It would be likely to be an indoor and outdoor venue, so there would be outdoor facilities, but also indoor facilities. Essentially, what we're trying to do is teach life safety skills to children, school-age children. So we bring the school children out to the site. We'd have outdoor bicycle safety, as I mentioned, playground safety, utility safety, but also indoor severe weather safety, stranger danger, 911 procedures, everything. We want to work closely with our public safety, police and fire as we look at implementing this project. But right now, we are more at the site selection stage. We want to make sure we've got a good site to work with, and we've got a couple that we're looking at that look very promising. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, and this is for Mr. Casey, and that's weird saying that, and Mr. Smith. In all of these projects that we've got as a park system, we've got consultants. Are they necessary for every project that we've got? They come with, I mean, they're expensive. Do we have I believe we have the talent internally to not have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars that could go back into the facilities for consultants and over the scope of all these. I mean, I know they're not required for each of these projects, but is it something that these cannot be done without consultants? Is that?
Well, that's a good question. So we do a lot of planning in-house. We do a lot of projects without consultants. Sometimes it's a question of what is the project we might not have the expertise for. One. The second question would be what is our current workload with other projects we have going on, and we may need to farm some of that work out to help us keep the projects moving in a timely manner. So the facilities we kind of went over tonight, when I look at them, I'm not sure there's a facility there that would not need a consultant to be a part of it. I mean, this whole landfill project, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts with that. There's a lot of regulation with that the consultants are going to help us with. Safety Town is a very, very unique facility. And most of these projects require some kind of architectural involvement. That's going to require consultants too to help us with it. So not necessary for every project. I like to think that from a staff standpoint, we try to measure and weigh the needs of a consultant versus doing it in-house. Trust me, if we can do it in-house, we'd much rather do it in-house and save those dollars with the consultants. But we do appreciate, I agree with you, I think we have very talented staff, Steve leading the way that can help us through these projects without consultants.
Okay, other questions? Yes, Councilmember Shields?
Thank you, Mayor. So I really appreciated the neighborhood park revitalization projects. I know you and I have talked a lot about the Williams Grant Park, the ones close to where we live, and I've seeing how great that's been for creating community, and I really appreciate the turf that's gone in. And I just wondered if you could talk a little bit about kind of the accessibility side of that, because I've seen in ours, and I don't know how much this went in the thought process, like, it's great when you have a stroller being able to put it right up on the playground, but also I've seen even like parents in wheelchairs that are able to get out there and play with their kids. So has that been a big part of that process? And
Yep. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, so just to be clear, mulch is an acceptable ADA surface, right? And but I think we all realize that if you come to a park in a wheelchair, or you maybe have to use a walker, getting through that kind of surface is not feasible. So as we were looking at doing the transition and presenting to the park board and getting the approval for this multi-year phase project, that was one key component. And I appreciate you bringing it up. I will share this story. So the ribbon cutting at Williams Grant Park, I had a mother come up to me. She was there with her daughter for the ribbon cutting, and she came up to me after all the little speeches and just said, "Hey, I want to thank you." We just live right over there, and we come over and play in the park. And she goes, "My husband's in a wheelchair, and he has never been able to go onto the playground and play with our daughter. Now he can go right onto the playground and participate with our daughter." So, I mean, it was great. And then I had another woman come over, neighbor. She said, "Hey, just wanted to let you know we really appreciate the turf and the mound," right? We put a little mound that it doesn't cost anything. It's got more play value than anything else we put out there. But she said, "I bring my daughter, and my mother comes with me," so 3 generations. She goes, "My mother can come over, she sits on the mound, she's right in the middle of the playground, and she's able to interact with her granddaughter and all the other kids playing on it." So there was just 2 quick, simple stories at the ribbon cutting that reinforced part of why we were doing what we're doing. Was just like, yeah, this is exactly why we're doing what we're doing. We want everybody, regardless of age or ability, to be able to come onto a playground and be able to participate and engage and be a part of the community in that way. So appreciate that, and yes, that's one of the components that we really thought about as a part of that project.
Yes, sir. Mr. Sear.
Yeah, this is really maybe more of a comment than a question, but I just wanted to say I really appreciate the city council making the decision to implement the park impact fee. As you look at the scope of projects that have been presented both by the city council and the parks, you can't do those in silos, right? And that park impact fee ultimately will ensure that we can continue to build and develop new neighborhood parks as the community expands and grows. 40,000 is a pretty astronomical number when you think about that as a percentage of growth, while continuing to upgrade parks in our older neighborhoods like Williams Grant Park, and build new facilities like the landfill park in Safety Town. And so that's really just going to ensure that the park system continues to develop with the city. So I know it was a tough choice, but just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you. Other comments, questions? You got a lot going. I know you have more than this going, but these are some of the bigger projects. I know that I'm having a hard time. Hartman's always been my favorite, but it's busier now, so I have to I'm trying out new parks with other than the dog park. I go to the dog park nonstop.
Well, I think I've seen you in Lowenstein Park.
Yes, you have.
So
I like
maybe-
Lowenstein because it's open and you can find a spot to be your own with your dog, type of thing.
But that park is our second busiest neighborhood park in the system.
It's crazy.
Last year was 180,000 visits after we renovated that park. So it's a busy park too.
Now, when you close down one of the dog parks and then you make everybody go to the other dog park, and then you see the people that you usually are at the other dog park, they complain and say, "Oh, ours is better." That's right. It's like they claim their own parks, like I'm claiming Hartman and Lowenstein. It's really
Why are
fun.
you in my dog park?
Yeah, it's really interesting how people are. But it is fun. I think you talked about housing, and all you're doing though is increasing the prices of our houses by fixing these parks up nice, and all the public safety we keep doing, all it does is drive our prices up and the demand. But that's what we want. We want this quality. We want these wonderful amenities. And we want the safety. So appreciate the hard work you're putting in, and it's really nice to see that you have had such a big year And there's going to be so much movement over the next few years, because some of these are long-term projects, but you're coming to coming to the point of fruition, and we're going to see the dirt move. And I didn't know you had the community gardens out there. I can't believe I didn't know that, but it's interesting. Did you know that?
I did not, but I am really excited about it.
Oh, it's really cool, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Are they? We sell out every year, so you want to get quick. But we are looking to expand them quicker. We're going to expand the community gardens before we really get into the full expansion of Bailey Farm. Just there's such a demand, so we're going to fill them up.
There is. Yes.
Okay, so so this idea got brought up last night. A chicken park.
Oh,
Where you
no.
can take
Did
your
you say
chickens
chicken
to
park?
Where you can take your chickens.
Oh, my.
I don't know. I don't think it's ever been done before.
Sounds like a great amenity at the dog park. My dogs would love that.
That's terrible.
You know, my neighbor's chickens, sometimes you run it, fly over into our yard. And my dogs love it.
Do they? Yeah.
That was probably a bad joke to all the chicken people out there. I apologize.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't really serious about a chicken park, but it would be fun.
We've been asked about cat parks.
We have been asked about cat parks,
Really?
yes. Yes.
No trees. In a cat
yeah.
park.
No trees in cat park. So noted.
Mayor,
And
Yes.
go ahead.
let the chickens loose in the gardens. That'll help with the bugs. That's what you
Yes.
just suggested. There you go. Yep.
So I just wanted to say real quick that Safety Town, I am so excited for that. I wish we had one of those when my children were little, and I just might make them go anyway, even though they're, almost grown. But that is so exciting, and I know children will just love it so much. So
I'm
for
a little-
those of you that still have littles, you're very lucky.
I'm a little concerned that Steve put those pictures on there because those are the
Those are the big
those are the
Taj Mahal.
premier safety towns probably in the United States of America, and they
Well,
we
that's
visit
what
them.
Summit needs.
They are spectacular and they are so engaging. They're amazing. They're amazing facilities, and so we're hoping that we're going to be able to bring something of that quality to Lee Summit because our community deserves it, and it's just a great learning
very
experience
exciting,
for the little ones. And there's a couple of ideas that got floated to me yesterday by staff that I think we're going to have to take a good hard look at too. That Safety Town might help serve those too. So I'm not going to talk about them yet, but.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, it's interesting, the different interests. I mean, my age is showing tonight because you're talking about people 55 and older, and that's me as of today. And so I'm much more excited about the pickleball courts than I am the safety town. But great presentation. Thank you for participating and working with our staff, the city staff, so closely. And I think it's been a really good few years of working together. So at this point, I think I'm going to turn this into a roundtable to see if you'd like to make any comments or ask any questions of each other before we take a break and let you guys finish your evening at home. So, any comments, questions? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, I want to thank the park board members for supporting this vision that staff and our residents have asked for. And that's what makes us such a great community, our park system. Thank you guys for your time. You have 2 past board chairs on the board still. So that's amazing that you all continue to stay committed. And I know you're in good hands with Mr. Hooser. And thank you for being good team partners with us, City Council. So that's it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. President Hooser, what do you think?
I appreciate everybody's time. It's nice to get updates on what's happening from the city standpoint, as well as us to be able to kind of talk. I know that sometimes it feels like we work in silos of what's happening, and our perk system is so large, and we talk about that even as a park board of making sure that you're going out and ask yourself as council members, as citizens of the city, have you visited all the parks? We have a large amount of parks. We have a large city, large landmass, and it's very impressive what we have. And every time we build a new playground or a new park refresh, I think it's an exciting moment because I think if you think about the orange peels that are over by the old Pappy's Pizza right there by the, any child who sees that wants to stop and play. If you have kids, you know that that's what draws them into it. And we talk about a community that's growing. We talk about apartment complexes multifamily, we need to have avenues for these individual families and children to be able to play and get out into, and that's what the park system affords. So sometimes when we talk about development, that's the one thing that we don't think about necessarily, is what the park system can supplement for those programs, is a place for community, a place for all of our citizens to come together. So I think it's great for us to be able to talk about this and be aware of what's happening. I think it's great to work together, such as on the park impact fee, to be able to make sure there's funding in place to meet those needs as we continue to grow as a city. So thank you all for your time as council members.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you. It's funny, you talk about the visibility, and when you do drive by a park such as, let's say, Miller Park up here, and you see all the kids and the activity and the water and the playground, it's just, it's warm and fuzzy. You know, you just feel good. So it's nice. It's nice just driving by the parks. And they always look wonderful and great. So, yes, Councilmember Pryor.
Thank you. I was just wondering if someone could elaborate just a little bit on the community gardens. Is it for can everyone just go and, I mean, like you said it was.
There you go.
I was going to say that.
I will have Brooke Chestnut, our Superintendent of Park Operations. Her and her staff oversee the community garden, so we have our community garden expert right here.
Unexpectedly. Hi. So your question is whether it's for everyone?
Yeah,
So-
or how does that, yeah.
Residents and non-residents alike can register to join the community garden. They're assigned a plot, they pay for that. Their job is to maintain it and plant whatever vegetables, fruits that they wish to grow. And then at the end of the season, they clean it up.
So the fruits and veggies go to them, the people that plant it?
Yes.
Okay.
We actually have quite a few people that donate a lot of it to social services because they get a lot more than they can handle themselves.
Is there ever like a stand that people can stop by and pick stuff up, or no?
No.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Again, we do this so that we, yes, sir. Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
I will.
Yes, please.
I just want to acknowledge there are a lot of people that get the benefit from all of the programming that Parks and Rec does, and we didn't really touch on any of that tonight. And with that, with the public service agreements, you've got a lot of volunteers that put in a ton of time to create each of them into being a very professional operation. And I know there's many parents involved with that, I hope everybody realizes Parks and Rec couldn't operate without those volunteers. And even the things that we do internally, or Parks and Rec does internally, from Camp Summit to Summit Waves to Legacy Blast, and I'll touch on Legacy Blast. Thank you so much for your partnership there on helping that be a fantastic community annual event with it too. It takes a team, and I just want to acknowledge the appreciation for all those people that are working together on that and volunteering their time.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, you're going to say something? Yes, please.
I'd like to, yeah. I just want to say thank you to my fellow park board members, but also to the city council. Nights like these show what great partnership and building relationships build. What a great place to live in Lee Summit, right? Every project that we heard about tonight is all about the future of where this city is going. And for years and years, these parks and opportunities and the work that you all are doing just builds a great community for all of us to live in. So I want to thank you for the partnership. When you talk about the PRI lands and that these discussions have been going on, you know, there are a lot of communities where collaboration isn't key. But here are places like that where we're thinking about the opportunities for an additional 40,000 residents and the parks and the schools and everything that need to be a part of that. That's the vision for the future. And it's just exciting to work with you all. And I just want to say thank you for your hard work.
Thank you. Yeah, we've got a lot going on in Lee Summit. And we're better together and working together than we are if we get in silos. And and it takes a very, you have to plan. You have to plan collaboration. It has to happen. It doesn't always happen organically, so you have to make it intentional. So So I think we're doing really well. This group has created a great example for us to keep following down this path, and we'll just keep making Lee Summit a wonderful place to live. So I'm going to go ahead and take a break at this time and let you all go. The council will go back up on the dais to finish the meeting so we can vote. So log in, council members, to your devices, please, unless you want to do aye or nay votes all night long. So with that, we'll take a break for, let's make it 10 minutes. We'll come back around 8:27.
Welcome to the Lee Summit Sign Department. We are going to walk you through our process from start to finish. We make signs as needed here. It's not like we just go out into the field and place a speed limit sign here, no parking here. Our traffic engineers, they go through and they'll do field studies. They'll send us down an engineering work order for us to go out, place new signs or remove signs as needed. Coming from the material, our blanks come in and they're just aluminum blanks. So we can put our white, our red, our fluorescent yellow, green, whatever. And basically what it looks like is just that there. Throw it up into the roller. And once we got it covered, take it to our work table here, and Tim will cut the corners, cut all the access off to where it's lined up right. As far as the plotter and the software that we use, there's a street name sign there, and he's gonna go ahead and print that out on the plotter so you can see the plotter and how it operates and runs. There's standards for the height, even just on letters on the sign blank. Basically what we have on the computer there is it's pretty much set up to those. And it goes through, it's got a very small but sharp needle that goes through and cuts everything out, letter by letter. Once that's done cutting, our next stage would be bringing it over here. Currently picking out the sign letters right now. We call it weeding or picking or however you want to call it. Next, putting it on the transfer tape. Then after it's taped, we bring it over to the roller. That's where we apply it to the actual sign blank. And we'll roll it through one time just to get the air bubbles out. And the last stage is basically just taking the transfer tape off the front of it. And there's a finished product of the street name sign. We'll take you out to the field and show you our process that we go through. We're gonna go out and follow our sign guys and get something installed for you. This is where we check our underground utilities. Tim, you got AT&T?
AT&T's back here.
Evergy, Google, so we should be good to go. We normally put all of our stuff together out in the field. Then once the base is installed, we'll go ahead and put the post in there. We've come up to perfect. And that's how we do it. Simple, quick.
Traditionally, we think as police officers, those responding to law enforcement needs within the community. But honestly, we are there to serve our citizens, and our citizens do go into crisis. They do have mental health crises, and we're being called to those scenes on a regular basis. In order to help serve those citizens better, we did initiate the Crisis Intervention Team Program. These are officers that are specially trained to de-escalate crisis situations. Recently, we've brought co-responders onto the scene, licensed qualified mental health professionals housed within our police department, and they respond with those officers directly to those scenes where a crisis is occurring so they can interact with that citizen and get them the help they need right there on that scene.
The co-responders are either bachelor or master level in a behavioral health related field. They wear plain clothes, they don't carry weapons or anything like that.
I have a police radio that I listen to all day. Listen for, those key words, mental health, behavioral health, crisis.
There's a lot of officers that just call for me. I have my own radio number.
I also have the ability to self-dispatch to them and say 982 is en route.
Officers en route, 914, Armstrong.
So typically I arrive after they've made it safe. I'll make contact and get kind of the rundown, and then I just kind of jump right in.
Like, hey, my name's Allison. I'm a mental health professional. I'm here to help you. I'm not here to take you to jail or arrest you.
Sometimes all a person needs is a voice, someone neutral, someone outside that, can listen. I do a lot of safety planning, including family, their support network, who's close to you. If they're home alone, who can come over and hang out with you today? Can we lock away your sharps? Can we put up your meds? Do you need meds? Can we get you over to the urgent care to get you assessed for your medications? Some of them also are like, oh, I'm so glad you came. This made me feel so much better.
Our main goal as co-responders is to, one, get people connected to the services that they need, and also divert from emergency rooms and jails.
And they almost get a different view of the police responding. That lets me know you care and the officers care.
Please, how can we help you?
My husband has...
In 2020, we had 722 mental health related calls for service. 2022, by that time, 1,479. These mental health related calls for service are increasing. How we're responding to that is increasing the number of crisis intervention team officers we have available, as well as the number of co-responders we have available to respond on these calls.
So what I think is important for the community to know about the co-responder program is that we're here, we exist. All you have to do when you call 911 is ask for us. Say, hey, I want a co-responder to respond to this crisis, and we'll go. I was really struggling about 8 years ago on my personal journey with mental health, and I met some amazing social workers and amazing programs that have helped me get to where I am today. I really couldn't see myself doing anything else. We want to help, and that's what we love to do.
So I had a client, we got a call, she had some suicidal ideations, and she really felt that she had nobody. And and getting to know her story and getting to know who comes around and sees you, well, then we found a support person, and they responded immediately. And we made a plan. I called back and checked on her in an hour, and then I checked on her in 2 hours. We were able to get her into the additional services to where she talks to someone every week or more. I just took a person that really just thought they had nobody and nobody would show up for them, and show them you do. And you'll be amazed who is in your corner if you just simply say, I need a little help.
When the person called on the phone, she said that there was a dinosaur walking down her road. Of course, we had to go out and check that out. We get out there, and it was a big African tortoise, probably 60 pounds, walking down the road. When they walk, they really stand up tall, so I could see why she thought it was a dinosaur. I'm Rodney Wagner. I'm the manager of Lee Summit Animal Control. So as you can see, we get all sorts of animals here. You got some guinea pigs off to the side. All the windows up here are animals that are adoptable right now. Every one of these dogs is ready to go and ready for adoption. And the same thing with our cats over here. A lot of cool cats in here now, so this is our 3-acre lot we have out back. This is where we do all the walking of dogs, exercise. We also have a side yard off to the side over there, so we can let them run loose. They can run together, and we have what's called play groups. Kind of like having a bunch of kids. Here's our vet room. We have a vet that comes out twice a week. This is our Sally Port where we bring the animals into. This is one of our animal control trucks, and we can hold up to 6 animals. We have a lift on the other side to put big animals in. We actually have temperature gauges in here and in the truck to tell us how hot it is. Once it gets to a certain temperature, we bring all the animals back here immediately. So this actually has traps in it, but we do a lot of wildlife trapping. I mean, a lot. So bats, potbelly pigs, horses, cows, emus, a lot of reptiles. We had a citizen one time that had over 200 reptiles in his basement. caimans and alligators in here that are 4 or 5 feet long. You can't keep those. And people do, and they're surprised when they can't keep them. I'm like, really? You're surprised you can't have an alligator in your house? Our main goal here is public safety and also the safety of the animals. And we have very dedicated people back there, and they definitely stay here for the love of the animals, which also includes getting them adopted out. We'll have about 4,000 impounded animals a year. Probably about close to 2,000 are dogs and cats. The cats and dogs, when they get impounded here, they go on a 5-day hold. And then after the 5 days, if the owner doesn't show up, then we can put them up for adoption. To adopt an animal here is actually really simple. You just come in, look for whatever animal you're looking for, find the right pick. You go to the adoption room up there and see if you get along with them. You spend as much time as you want to in there. From that point on, it's just a matter of making sure they're spay or neutered and all their vaccinations up to par and they're good to go. We have a very high adoption rate because we try everything in our power to get animals adopted out. We have Heart of America Humane Society that we do a lot of adoptions through. And then we also have other groups. We have some people that literally will just look all over the country for somewhere for a dog to go. And we sent dogs up into South Dakota, North Dakota, Washington State. So it's actually, it's a huge united effort to get all these animals home.
Tarzan's got lots of energy. Hazel's got a weird meow. Bell, she wants nothing to do with the other cats. She'll kind of get her grumpy face going.
And the good thing about the people here is that they get all their friends to get animals too. All of us have probably the limit of all the animals that we can have at home. You know, they are huge animal lovers. If it was up to the people here, we'd have 15 cats running around in here. We had a citizen one time out there and he was bathing his 2 9-foot-long boa constrictors in the front yard. Apparently that was garnering some attention, and so we went out there and had to have a talk with him about that. Why do I do this job? Oh, dude, I love this job. I grew up on a farm, and taking care of that many animals, you can't help but like animals. This is just like fancy farming. You know, you're just bringing animals in here, taking care of them, and find them homes, and yeah, absolutely animal lover.
I'm Assistant Chief Jim Eden.
And I'm Battalion Chief Ben Hicks.
And today we're at Lee Summit Fire Station 3. Fire Station 3 was part of the 2016 no tax increase general obligation bond for public safety initiatives. The station was built and occupied in August of 2020. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we've not been able to give tours or have an actual ribbon cutting. So we want to invite you in today to give you the opportunity to see what goes on within a Lee Summit Fire Department station.
Let's go take a tour. This is our admin side of the facility. We use this side mainly for offices. We have a lot of work during the day, whether it's training or doing reports or just generally taking care of the shift that we need to do. At this particular station, Station 3, we do have an assistant chief that works out of here. That person has their own office where they need to manage what's going on throughout the day with the shift and staffing, and as well as running calls out of here. The captain has their own office as well. What the captain does is at this specific station is in charge of both the fire truck that's here as well as the ambulance. And so with all those personnel responsibilities as well as running calls and reports, that's where they work out of. And generally for the rest of the crew, which is somewhere around 5 to 6 individuals, we have rooms to write reports, and we have additional training rooms and other rooms where people can work Walking into our living area, I think it's important to recognize that we work 48-hour shifts. So in the evenings, after 5 o'clock, after work is done, we may have the opportunity to catch a game or something else as long as we're not running calls. And this gives us the opportunity to do that. When we go into our kitchen, I think this gives you a great reason to know why we go to the grocery store. When you see fire trucks at the grocery store, what we're doing. Well, so for 2 days working for 48 hours, we buy all our meals at the grocery store, and then we come in here and cook, just like you guys do at home. So everybody has their own fridge on each shift, as well as their own pantry, and then we cook those meals here. Going into the sleeping side of things, we've got a couple different things that are significant. We have our own laundry room, which again is important when we're here for 48 hours. The opportunity to wash and clean our clothes and bedding is very important for hygiene. And walking into where our beds are, we keep the kind of sleeping quarters over on one side of the building. It gives us both easy access out to where our fire apparatus are, as well as kind of keeping it a little bit quieter for those people that have been up all night running calls. We have 11 bedrooms here at this station. And the reason we built it with so many bedrooms is we want to give ourselves as a city the opportunity to expand. So if we need to put another apparatus here or numerous other people working at this station, that's already in place as far as infrastructure goes, and we don't need to go back and try to make it bigger or better. And that's really important for us, especially because the old station was so small. Back out on the apparatus floor, we had doors facilitated as many places as possible, so that way when we're sleeping at night and a call comes out, we can make our way out fairly quickly to get out onto the truck if we need to and run a call. On the other side of the station, we kind of have other stuff that we may want to keep separated if we want to. Physical fitness is very important to us as firefighters. So in order to better ourselves and make sure we're as healthy as we can to do this job, we have our own gym facility here that we kind of go throughout the day when we can and get an opportunity to come in and work out. Our goal when we run calls, when we get back to the station after calls, our goal is to get ready to go back as soon as we can to run another call. So we have the opportunity or capability here to fill up our air tanks. You can see firefighters wear the big air tanks on their backs, and they use those in a fire. We can come back and fill those up and make sure that we're ready to go again when we're wanting to go run another call. We have our own workshop here. We work on a lot of our tools and making sure that everything's clean and operational, and this gives us the capability to do that, again, to make sure that we have everything we need and we're as capable as we can be running calls throughout the city. Cancer prevention is very important in the fire service right now. Because of that, we have an extractor machine, and what this does is gives us the capability when we come back from a fire, we can put our bunker gear into this machine and get all that really nasty crud off of our gear. Again, kind of getting back to that cancer prevention mode, allowing us to be as clean as we possibly can for the next call. And finally is our bunker gear room. We each have our own individual locker. This gives us the opportunity to store our gear when we're not here working in between shifts, as well as keep a clean extra set on here in case we do run a fire and we need to clean our current gear. Typically, this is where your day starts off at the fire station. You come in and get your gear and put it on wherever you're working that day, and then you end the same way, bring your stuff back to your locker to go home after working. This is Med 3. This ambulance just currently moved into the station from Station 7. Station 3, since we've had it built, has turned into one of our busiest stations in the city. Therefore, we wanted to provide the best care in the closest unit as we could. So we moved one of our ambulances up, and this became Med 3 for this particular instance. Out of this station, we also have Pumper 3. And that's a fire apparatus that they utilize to run the calls on this west end of the city. The last vehicle that you see is the chief's vehicle. We have 2 shift chiefs on shift every day, and they split the city. And this chief running out of this station typically covers the west and south area of the city, while our chief at Station 2 covers kind of that northeast section of our city, and they divide it up evenly.
Thank you for going on a tour with us today. If you have any other questions about the Lee Summit Fire Department, please go to our webpage at lsfire.net or follow us on Facebook at Lee Summit Fire Department.
Thanks for joining us on the tour.
Welcome to the Lee Summit Sign Department. We are going to walk you through our process from start to finish. We make signs as needed here. It's not like we just go out into the field and place a speed limit sign here, no parking here. Our traffic engineers, they go through and they'll do field studies. They'll send us down an engineering work order for us to go out, place new signs or remove signs as needed. Coming from the material, our blanks come in and they're just aluminum blanks. We can put our white, our red, our fluorescent yellow, green, whatever. And basically what it looks like is just that there. Throw it up into the roller. And once we got it covered, take it to our work table here, and Tim will cut the corners, cut all the access off to where it's lined up right. As far as the plotter and the software that we use, there's a street name sign there, and he's gonna go ahead and print that out on the plotter so you can see the plotter and how it operates and runs. There's standards for the height, even just on letters on the sign blank. Basically what we have on the computer there is it's pretty much set up to those. And it goes through, it's got a very small but sharp needle that goes through and cuts everything out, letter by letter. Once that's done cutting, our next stage would be bringing it over here. Currently picking out the sign letters right now. We call it weeding or picking or however you want to call it. Next, putting it on the transfer tape.
Okay, we're going to bring this meeting back to order. Sorry it was a longer break than I said.
We had pretzels.
Yeah, we needed a refresh. So we are back into the agenda here. And we are on presentations, agenda item 8A. This is the council vacancy fulfillment process. We've got, it says Mark Dunning and Brian Head, but I know I'm going to have Councilmember Shields speak to this too because she was a big part of this process with the Rules Committee. And the only thing we want to tweak is we might want to talk about tweaking the timelines because we really want all council members involved in this decision. And so we'll talk about that in a minute here. But Mr. Dunning, do you want to start it off or do you want me to do this with Councilmember Shields from the dais?
Really, I would just have introductory remarks. I think you all know generally it's up to the council to determine who fills a vacancy until such time that there's a municipal election for that election to occur. So just for the public's perspective, that's what we're talking about. With a vacancy, the charter makes it clear that the council shall appoint someone to fill that unexpired or that vacancy until the next municipal election. So there's no defined process. That's what we're talking about, and that's what Councilmember Shields and the Rules Committee put some thought to, and that's what's being discussed this evening.
Okay, thank you. The Rules Committee did put together a process, and it's pretty detailed. So I would like to yield to Councilmember Shields to kind of walk us through their process, their thoughts.
Thank you, Mayor. So I had actually, based on discussions that we had about adjusting the timelines, made a couple of edits to the process that was in our packet, and I emailed those to Mr. Head. I think he was going to see if we couldn't throw those up on the screen to look at.
I think he's probably getting the printed version so he can put it on the screen. Yep.
Okay, well, that works too. So our basic thought process was that we would have an application period so that we'll publish notice and have a chance for interested candidates to fill out the required application that states their residency, their qualified voter status, all of the legally required items. They would come to City Hall and fill that out. But then we would also have an online application similar to our boards and commissions application where they would fill out, why are you interested in serving? And then we came up with kind of some sample questions that we thought would be good to add to that application. These were shamelessly cribbed from the last chamber forum questionnaire that they had for candidates just to try to hit some major topics that are before the city. And then after the close of that application period, the applications would be distributed to the council to review so that everyone would have a chance to see all the interested applicants. And then, once we get my edited version up here, I was going to recommend that we add in a meeting where we pare down that list in the event that we were to get a dozen interested candidates, that maybe we would, as a council, based on the written applications, narrow that down to a maximum of 5 or less. And then we would have a public meeting where they would come and treat it basically like a forum, where they would give opening statements. We would ask them a series of questions that would be suggested by council members ahead of time and give them a chance to answer, and then give them a chance to have a closing statement, and then we would have public comments, so that if any members, especially of that district, but any members of the community wanted to come and offer their opinions, just to have a chance for public engagement similar to how we do in public hearings. And then we would have council voting, where a council member would be required to nominate a potential applicant. It wouldn't require a second, so then once that was done and we had the number of applicants chosen, then we would go and voice vote, and if we had a majority on that first vote, if someone got at least 5 votes, then we would be done. If we didn't, then the lowest vote getting candidate would drop out, and we would vote again until we had someone with a majority. So that's the general process, and hopefully we can get this.
That makes sense. So how would you, on that second part, that last part there, you said that that someone would nominate someone, we would vote. If they would get 5 votes, then we would have our next council member. However, how would you figure out who was the least?
It would be a public voice vote. So you would say, I vote for John Smith, I vote for Jane Doe, and we would go around and.
Okay, so you're saying maybe you would have all, like, if we were to narrow it to 3, we would vote for 3, or 5, we would vote for 5, and we would say who we voted for. And if we had 5 votes, obviously someone would get elected, but if not, we would then take out the bottom.
Yeah, so if somebody only got 1 vote, they would drop out, and the remaining candidates, we would go through that process again.
The remaining candidates, or would we just knock out all of them except for the top 2?
I think the math actually works out that it's the same difference. I don't know that there's a way to have a bottom.
Because if you only knock out 1 candidate and you've got 5, you're still going to have 4 people vying for 5 votes.
But I don't think that you would actually be able to get that many people with the same number. But the idea was, because I kept trying to do the math in my head and discussing it with Mr. Head.
Well, there are really only 3, I think there are really only 3 permutations. There's 4 votes for 1 candidate, 2 for another candidate, and 2 for another candidate. So that gives you 8.
If you have 3.
If you had, well, yes.
What if you had
so
more
if
than
you
that?
had 4, then you could split 3, 2, 2, 1, and you would drop the 1, but you would still have the 3 and the 2 2s, whoever those were. So you would still have.
I guess if you had a 4-2-2 split, you would just go through another round of voting until someone changes their mind and somebody drops out.
I really feel like the best way to, though, is to get it down to 2 candidates and then vote. Shouldn't we narrow it down until we get 2 candidates? Because you want a majority. You have to have a majority to get the vote.
Correct, right. So what it would be is, if you had a 3, and a 2, the person with 2 votes would drop out, and then you'd vote on the 3 and the 3.
Yeah, as long as we have a majority of the council voting for a person,
Drop out the lowest.
rather than someone getting on council with only 3 of the 8 votes.
Exactly. That's
Gotta
not
have
going
5.
to happen.
Okay.
You'll have to have someone
All right.
dropping out. So the edits that I made to what was in the packet was first to add an application close date of January 29th. It would be tomorrow. If we pass it tonight, it would open tomorrow, and then you would publish notice within the next couple days.
We would need to publish notice. We would, of course, also put it up on the websites and all of that everywhere that we could. And then you would have a closing date of January the 29th.
And then.
So the 29th would then give you time as staff to get it prepared for the, well, no, okay, go ahead. I'll let you keep going and we'll talk
So
about
the
dates.
idea is, I've got to pull up my own calendar so that I can look at dates here. So the 29th is a Wednesday, so that would give staff a day or 2 to get all the applications pulled together and sent to the council members to review over the next couple of days. And then on our meeting on the 4th, we could go through and have a discussion and narrow it down to 5 candidates if there were more than that. So a maximum of 5. So say, okay, here's the list. You've all had a chance to look at their qualifications. Who do you actually want to hear from at our next meeting? So that we're not here for 10 hours. We don't want to have, a dozen candidates. And then at the meeting, and the last change here is to move that meeting when we actually have the public discussion to February 11th when Councilmember Carlisle is back from her work travel. So those are the edits to what was in your packet and what you've seen before.
I see. Okay, so you took care of these dates already that, because Councilmember, just so the rest of the council knows and everybody watching, we were going to lose Councilmember Carlisle for a couple of weeks, even though we didn't have a meeting scheduled. We were trying to maybe implement a meeting, but she's going to be out of town and she's not even going to be available via Zoom. So if we want all the council members involved, we're basically just adjusting these dates a little bit. And plus, I like the extra step on the 4th, even though Councilmember Carlisle will be gone. On the 4th, we can at least narrow it down. And that provides a little bit of discussion, allowed discussion. It'll be public. And then we can narrow the list and then have the determining evening of February 11th for us to discuss and vote.
And we don't know who will apply. We might have a small pool, but if we have a particularly large pool, I thought it would be a good idea if we would be able to just limit that a little bit. So
I like that.
That's the process basically that the committee came up with just a couple of. Right. So the qualifications are statutory to serve. You have to be a resident of the district. Mr. Head, would you like to list those off for the record real quick?
Let me grab my.
Let me see what Councilmember Pryor's questions or discussion points are. Councilmember Pryor?
Thank you, Mayor. So I was just wondering, one, is there any way we can vote on these? Do we have to do a voice vote or can we do it like an anonymous vote?
I don't know how to do an anonymous vote.
I mean, I guess we could write them on slips of paper for the clerk to read. I thought it would be a voice vote with discussion where
Can
people
we even
are
do
explaining.
a voice vote, Mr. Head? I'm sorry.
You could do it electronically if you had no more than 3, potentially. You could designate that a yes vote was for John Brown, a no vote is for Jane Doe, and an abstention vote is for whoever else. You could designate the electronic board in that way. I have seen that done before.
But then it would be public who we voted for, so that's not anonymous.
Correct. You really can't do it anonymously. We are required to take votes either by roll call or electronic means where every vote of each person is recorded. This is not an item that you could do in closed session by any stretch. So it is something that we have to do publicly.
Okay.
Okay, and then my other question is, during the kind of forum, will there be a chance for like District 4 residents to submit questions for?
I don't think we had questions. We were going to do the questions, but they could come and do public comment.
Okay. Public comment after the questions or before?
No, typically we do public comment before presentations or public hearings. I mean, we do public in the agenda, and things can be moved around. But typically we do public comments after the public hearings, but before everything else.
And Mayor, the committee's recommendation was to have the kind of forum and then have public comments right after that, similar to how we do a public hearing where you have all the evidence presented, and then does anyone want to speak in favor or
You want to move the public comments?
That was, it doesn't have to be, but that's the thought process of how we structured it. Yes.
Let me think for a second. Okay. I mean, I don't have a problem with the public comments being afterwards. I kind of would like for the public comments to be geared towards the candidates and not other issues, because we allow public comments for any operations. Mr. Head, can I do 2 public comment sections?
Sure.
One? Okay. I think I would probably do that. I'd probably have a public comment before we do it regarding anything that's operations, but that does not have to do with the candidate. candidates that we have, and then have one afterwards.
That makes sense. And we also had, in this, if you can scroll down a little bit, Mr. Head, that after the public comments and questions, that there would be time for some additional discussion by council. So if there was a question brought up by a member of the public and someone wanted to follow up on it,
Sure.
you know, somebody said, my issue is.
We're going to do it like a public
beekeeping."
hearing, basically.
Yeah, that was the thought of how we structured it, that kind
So-
of format.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Are we gonna have it?
Yeah.
Questions? Well, why don't, they're asking, council members are asking if we should allow for the citizens to ask questions like they do at a candidate forum, like at the chamber, because they allow a time for that. I think maybe the best way to do that, man, what happens at those things is they have lots of people, like 3 people, running through all the questions, and then they're determining what's a valid question or a good question to, because you can't ask all the questions, right? So we would, if we did that, we would really have to have them submit to our clerk, city clerk, their questions. She would then give them to yeah, I think it would be better if we had them ahead of time, if people wanted specific questions ahead of time. I've seen the candidate forums, and I think they do a good job with them, but they are a bit of work on the fly, and they usually have a whole moderator team of 3 people typically going through the questions to decide which ones to ask. And having been in that seat before, where I had to pick those, that is not easy if you get a lot of questions, because someone's going to say that you didn't ask their question. You feel a lot of pressure. So I don't really know that I should be putting that on staff to do that. Mr. Dunning?
That was my thought too. If we established a period of time in which the public could submit questions through a system, and then there's a cutoff for that, and then we provided all of you with a set of those questions, and as part of this process, you determined whether questions were valid, would be more comfortable to me than relying on staff to kind of pick through these.
So the process that we established was to have council members submit questions and then have during the application period, then have the mayor review those and consolidate them, because we'll probably have multiple questions about economic incentives or multiple questions about zoning or what have you.
Yeah, usually you get the similar questions,
Yeah,
but.
so the thought was, since the council members are the ones that are gonna have to make the decision at the end of the day, to let us submit questions, and then you to kind of corral those and figure out what the big topics of interest are, and then select representative questions.
When do those questions need to be submitted then? Do we need them to be submitted by the?
By the end of the application period.
Okay.
And that's what's in
Okay.
here. Sorry, I didn't go through every
I could match,
minutia,
if
so-
those match up, I could,
Yeah.
we could probably live with that.
But would that work, do you think that, because I feel like we'll get a good selection of questions submitted by the council.
Yeah, it's gonna be work, but it gives us time to go through it all. Yeah. And if it also gives time that if we didn't know, if there was a question about a question, I could submit it to council and say, what do you want to do on this? So, does that make sense, Mr. Head? Yep.
Mayor, I'm confused.
Councilmember
down
Pryor is
here.
still up.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So Councilmember Pryor, are you yielding the floor, or do you have another question?
Yes, nope, I'm done.
Okay, Councilmember Rader.
I'm confused. So you said that the public would be able to are you letting the public know who the applicants are, all the applicants, for them to submit questions prior to?
We won't have the full list of applicants until the end of the filing period.
Right.
So we couldn't, if we're going to allow questions all the way up to the 29th, they wouldn't know.
No, I meant, how's the public going to know who the applicants are?
Mayor, may I?
Yeah, go ahead, Councilmember.
We had discussed in Rules Committee that just like during filing, that we would have a list published at the end of each day, just like we do when candidate filing is open. So it would be on the city website at 5, updated at 5 o'clock or whatever. Here's the people who have submitted applications up to this point.
And so how are you going to organize the questions for,
And we didn't set this up in committee to have the public submitting questions. It was just going to be council members submitting questions that the mayor would choose, and then members of the public could come to the meeting. And if they, after listening to the questions and the candidate statements, if they had comments or questions, that they could speak during that public comment.
And then you're going to you're just going to have a limit because it could go on forever.
Yeah, exactly. Just like we do at public
And
hearings. That
it
people
would
have
only
a
be for
certain amount of
District
time.
4.
Yeah. that
Right?
we
It's
would-
not going to be for everybody. You have to be in the District 4 in order to submit the question.
Oh, to submit the question.
So again, I don't think that we were going to have submitted questions ahead of time from the public. It's just council members. So picking out the questions for the forum, but then anyone, just like in any of our meetings, anyone can come and speak. But I assume they'd want to say if they're in District 4, but just like any of our meetings, it's open to the public.
Is that what you understood, Mr. Head?
Well, the Rules Committee did not have a provision for questions to be asked necessarily by the public. They could come and make a public comment. What I've heard you all talking tonight about is finding a way for residents to submit questions. I would suggest if that's the direction that we want to go, with all due respect, I don't think it's important who the candidates are as to what the questions are, because the questions need to be answered by anybody regardless of who they are. So having a deadline for the public to submit questions to the mayor and council that is at the same time as the deadline for folks who want to be considered is completely appropriate, I think. That can go into the mix of questions that you all see. You can decide then what you want to submit to the mayor, and then the mayor ultimately chooses what the last questions are. But I would suggest if you want to open the question issue to the residents, perfectly fine. Just have those submitted by that same deadline. They all go into the mix. You can either just give all of them to the mayor, or you all can get all of them and then decide which ones you want to ask, included in the questions you want to have the mayor vet, because you may get some really great questions from out there that you hadn't thought of. But that's entirely up to you. If you want to do that, we probably do need to add one more little bullet here somewhere.
So I want to go back to Councilmember Ada's question, though. She asked if they would only be from District 4 residents, but I think we would have to open it up to all public comment, like not narrow it by residents, because we do make decisions that affect the whole city. But keep going, Councilmember Ada. What other questions?
I think that clarifies
Okay.
it a lot better for me. Thank you, Mary.
Okay, what part did you want to add before I go to Councilmember Carlisle? Did you want to add? Oh, you were going to help with that? Councilmember Carlisle, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. So I was just going to say, I don't know if we already have something that we can use for that, the public to submit questions to us. And instead of trying to make something on the fly they could just actually email us council members their questions and submit them that way, so that we're not trying to get staff to make some new process on the fly that our website will allow for them to submit questions in.
So I was thinking around the same lines too. And so we do have, a city clerk email account, and thinking along the lines of the thought of as candidates file each evening, right, we're publishing that on the website, just create awareness. We could do the same with the questions. Here's the questions received from this day, and just keep that list going on. That was a thought that I had. And that way, all of you are getting it at the same time. It's coming through, our clerk's office, and we're capturing that has been received, and we can manage it that way.
So you can just set it up to where it's like something that says ask a question, push here, and it'll go straight to the clerk.
Yeah, we could set that up.
Awesome, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Head's finishing up editing the process here. Okay, timelines again would be, while he's doing that, the 29th is a Wednesday. all applications and questions would need to be submitted by then, so we can, because there will take some time going through those questions. And staff's gonna have to organize the information for council's review. We will have a discussion on the 4th, so you guys are gonna have 1 day to turn that around, Mr. Dunning, with regard to the candidates, not the questions, but the candidates. So that we can have the information and plenty of time to review it before the February 4th meeting. The February 4th meeting, we will narrow it, and we need to decide, are we going to narrow this to 5 candidates, 3 candidates, based on the applications? Because I can tell you that we're going through this with the EDC, and we had to narrow it. We couldn't interview 37 people. So how many candidates do we want to narrow it to?
On here, I'd suggested a maximum of 5, but it could be any number, so I'd be fine
So
with 3.
we could pick 3 that on the 4th to interview, we don't have to choose 5 if you just say a maximum of 5, okay. Okay. That way we're not excluding somebody. If there's a 4th candidate that we really want to interview, we have that option, okay. I think if we had 5 really good candidates, we're going to be in good shape as a council, having to pick between them.
Mayor, we did have the question a little bit earlier, and I wanted to grab my notes on what the qualifications were for council.
Okay.
The qualification is the person must have been a qualified voter of the city for 2 years, next preceding election, so I would say that would be next preceding appointment, and that they have to remain a qualified voter during their term of office, and they have to have been a resident of the district for 6 months prior to appointment in that case. There's also requirements in state law that you cannot serve if you're a felon or if you are in arrears for taxes. That's actually in the statute as well.
Okay. What else on this needs to be edited in the meantime, while you're looking at that, Mr. Head, if you'll review that really quick. Councilmember Pryor.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is actually kind of on down the line, but how long is this, will they have to run for another election than this April, like the April that, so 2 council members will be running for the same district?
Yes, so 2 council members would run in April of 26 in District 4, but one of them would be running for a 2-year seat and one would be running for a 4-year seat.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And just for clarification, that initial 2-year period does not count against the term limit for the council member. So that individual, whoever wins that 2-year seat, the remainder of Councilmember DeMoro's seat, would then also be eligible to run for 2 additional full terms.
Okay. Good question. Okay, Mr. Head, have you looked this over?
Yeah, I think we're good.
We can still, we could still tweak it on the 4th if we needed to, or even next week if we run into something. We have a meeting next week, right?
We have a resolution on your agenda tonight. However, we can hold off on that and then just bring it all back to you cleaned up next week as well. But we would still want to go ahead and get the opportunity to apply out there.
I think we need to approve this and then tweak it if we need to.
That's fine.
Amend it later.
I would, however, recommend then that perhaps Councilmember Shields could make a motion to amend the attachment to the existing resolution that you have on your agenda tonight to include these edits. What's that? Oh, yes, we haven't gotten there. We're still on the presentation and discussion portion, but.
Okay.
Would you like me to leave this up here so you can see it as you go? I can scroll down too if it's helpful. Yes, you certainly can.
Okay, I feel better about these. I felt like we were pushing it on these timelines anyway. I think this gives us time to make sure that we cover our bases and ask all the questions we want to ask, and do the due diligence that we need. At the same time, in less than a month, we'll have another council member. So. Any further comments or discussion before we read this resolution by the city clerk? Councilmember Shields?
Thank you, Mayor. All I wanted to say was I think this is a good balance of the urgency to make sure that District 4 has fair representation on the council, but also a thoughtful process. So I really appreciate the work of the committee and the full council putting this timeline together. So thank you.
Well, yeah, and thank you for Rules Committee for getting it there so we could discuss it like this. All right, Mr. Head, you've got that ready?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. All right. Tyler Curry, would you please read Resolution 2025-6697?
Resolution number 2502, resolution establishing a procedure for appointing a new council member following a vacancy on the city council as provided by section 3.7 of the charter for the city of Lee Summit, Missouri.
Okay, you changed the number, so on my.
Mayor, that's the packet number that you referenced, but the resolution's titled 02.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Thank you. All right, we have a motion to adopt Resolution 25-02 by Councilmember Hodges, seconded by Councilmember Carlisle. Discussion? Yes, Councilmember Shields.
Thank you, Mayor. I would move to amend Exhibit A attached to the resolution to reflect the edits shown on the screen that we've discussed this evening. Second.
Thank you. I have a motion to edit the resolution, amend the resolution to include the edits on the screen that we see by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion on the motion to amend. Okay, so we are on the motion to amend. Please cast your vote. All votes are, I think, no, I'm missing one. You're right, yes. Councilmember Lovell is not here, so record the vote, please. 7-0 is the vote, so it's adopted. The amendment is adopted. So now we are voting on Resolution 2025-02 as amended. I have a motion to adopt by Councilmember Hodges, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Lopez. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It also is adopted unanimously. So we will begin the process, and people can start applying as of tomorrow. All right. Thank you, Mr. Head. That takes us to proposed ordinances, second reading. We have a substitute bill first on this agenda. On 9A, we have a substitution bill. Mr. Elam, what do we got going on, please?
Which one is it? I need to clear out that file. Blanked out on that. There we go. Sorry.
Okay.
It's just for you
Sorry
guys.
about that. No problem.
Yes, good evening, Ryan Elam, Assistant City Manager. Yes, the substitute bill you have before you is simply the addition of condition number 2 to the ordinance, and that condition is related to the road maintenance agreement. It was mentioned during the public hearing for the SUP last week. It just didn't make its way into the ordinance. So it's simply the addition of condition number 2 under section 2 to enter into a mutually satisfactory road maintenance agreement.
Okay. This is when Councilmember Carlisle asked the applicant if he was taking on all, basically all responsibility for the maintenance. He said yes. You didn't vote for it, but you didn't vote for it because you didn't have him on the record.
Well, because I did have.
Oh, okay. She's still going to vote against it, but she is looking out for us. That's good. I can live with that. Okay. Councilmember Rader, would you please read the substitution bill?
Thank you, Mayor. I move for adoption, substitute bill number 25-001, an ordinance granting a special use permit for a concrete batch plant facility in District PI on land located at 2250 Northwest Quarry Road for a period of 10 years, all in accordance with Article 6 of the Unified Development Ordinance for the City of Lee Summit, Missouri.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt the substitute bill 25-001 by Councilmember Rader, seconded by Councilmember Shields. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It does pass 6-1. Thank you. Councilmember Shields, would you please read bill number 25-002?
Thank you, Mayor. I move for adoption of Bill Number 25-002, an ordinance approving a preliminary development plan for Oldham Village Phase 1 on approximately 39 acres of land generally located at the southwest intersection of US 50 Highway and South M291 Highway, all in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 33 of the Unified Development Ordinance of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Lee Summit, Missouri.
All right, thank you. We have a motion to adopt bill number 25-002 by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Lopez. Discussion? Yes, Councilmember Rader.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay. I want to have one more round of discussion on this, and I just want to say I don't want to be difficult here, but I can't help feeling like there still needs to be a little bit of due diligence, and I want to ask if the other council members want to engage in some discussion on this, but I still have a lot of concerns over the amount of drive-throughs on this project. I think overall it's a great project. But I'm worried about that, and I'm worried about that for the reason of traffic, because I think about you've got what you have on board right now is a Chick-fil-A, which we know generates a lot of traffic. It generates a lot of traffic over where it's located now. A lot of times you can't even get off of the Parkway into the area to go to the car wash. You've also got a car wash that generates a lot of traffic and stacking. So I would like to ask for your opinions and thoughts on this, but I would also ask if the developer would consider a reduction in the drive-throughs to 4 or 5 instead of 9. And if there's options to be flexible with that, and then your thoughts. Well, discussion, if anyone's interested.
Okay, I'll open the floor up for discussion. Councilmember Shields.
Thank you, Mayor. I feel like we vetted this really thoroughly at our last meeting, and that I appreciated the developer's reasoning that we discussed in terms of getting the highest impact use approved, so that when they do their planning, that they're planning for the amount of traffic that the highest use would generate, even if they end up putting a less intensive use in there. So I feel like the reasoning was sound in giving them the flexibility that they need to operate. A successful development is important, that we don't want to put too many restrictions. So I wouldn't want to send this back for further discussion. I think that we really have vetted it out already. So that would be my opinion. Thank you.
Mr. Dunning, I'm not going to open this up to that unless Dunning or somebody says something different. But so let's go back about 5 years to COVID. Like, I feel like during COVID, everybody needed a drive-through, and people were turning their parking lots into drive-throughs. I feel like COVID changed the whole game, and I mean, I had 3rd Street Social last night. I did a carry-out. They don't have a drive-through, but it's close. I mean, it's as close as you get. I just think customer patterns have changed a lot. What is, from the development department's point of view in codes, I mean, would you rather have drive-throughs, or would you rather them turn in their parking lots into drive-throughs with cones and such, like they do at Jack Stack, which Jack Stack does a really good job with it in their parking lot. But do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's difficult, right? Because we're developing to a certain set of standards. Some businesses are more successful and desirable than others, and so We're trying to create standards that would apply to all, and as you just highlighted, right? COVID changed things. I know that the ability to order on apps and have things pre-ordered before you even go through a drive-through lane now exists. And so while our standards are still, you drive in, you look at the menu and you're ordering right then and there, there's a variety of ways to do this.
Was that Shake Shack, was it like the first Shake Shack with a drive-through? Do you remember? Do you remember, Mr. Elam?
I know in this area, I can't think of another Shake Shack that had a
And that was a part of, that was a big part of, they had to have a drive-through, and it was, I mean, it's a high-end burger joint, I guess, if you want to call it a burger joint, because that's what they sell. You know, I don't want to take away the flexibility that may be needed in this environment, but Councilmember Carlisle, what are your thoughts?
Thank you. And I was just going to say, yeah, I remember 5 years ago during COVID, and I remember having our meetings from home, and I remember being concerned about traffic in the drive-throughs on the streets of West Pryor as well. With a Chick-fil-A, we all know that's huge, and then a Starbucks, I think, that's going in there. Those are both big, and I don't want to limit anybody's ability to do anything, but I would ask, is there an ability to lower that from 9 or 10, or would that really just tie up your hands too much?
If we ask the developer a question, do I have to open the public hearing, Mr. Dunning? I don't really want to open the public hearing if I can have him answer a question or two.
I don't think you need to open the public hearing, Mayor, because all that information was presented. This is more, I would say this is allowable discussion on the preliminary development plan, but then it also can swirl in that TIF contract negotiations as well. So if you'd like to hear from the developer, Mayor, based on what the thoughts are and hear their response, I think that's.
I got two council members that have already asked him the question, so if he's willing, Mr. Pennington.
Yeah, Matt Pennington, Drake Development, 7200 West 132nd Street, Oldham Park, Kansas. Yeah, I mean, I'd be willing to be flexible in some regard there. My biggest fear is that I don't know what user will land where exactly at that moment, so I'd hate to say, hey, this one's not going to have that, because you just don't, like Shake Shack, we didn't know exactly where they were going to land. So, it's just the flexibility allows a lot of different users in different spots. So.
And yeah, I'm not asking if you can limit, we won't put one here, we will put one here, just that we won't put 9.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we can certainly limit it. Yeah. I mean, we could certainly limit it. And I think we could do that in the TIF contract.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Is Q39 going to want to drive through?
I doubt it.
It's a sit-down restaurant, I know, but you see what I'm saying here?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know exactly if it's a pickup lane or what they'll do, but obviously, it's, you've seen Jack Stack.
All right. Mr. Dunning.
Yeah, I just thought of recalling the streets of West Pryor, and I'll throw it out there. I think originally we had more restrictions on there, right? And then the PDP got approved, and then I believe for the drive-through, didn't we have to come back and revisit through a public process to allow that drive-through? So I would say this, even if there are conditions created and we get so far down the development and then those conditions are inhibiting the developer's ability to bring more on, there's always that opportunity to say it's not in the PDP. That's why we're going back through a public hearing process to consider this.
Well, I mean, she's asking the same question. So, Mr. Pennington, come back forward. Yeah. You've heard 9. Do you have 9 in there? Is that correct?
I guess we have 9. I mean, we can certainly cut it down by, a couple, and then just work hand in hand with, if we come in with users, we can go through the same process that Mr. Dunning had said.
All right, I'm hearing a couple of 7. Councilmember Rader.
I mean, yes, I would appreciate any kind of flexibility on it. I hope you understand that, and I know you do, that it's the gateway. And it's important for you to be a success and to look beautiful. And I just would hate to see fast food restaurants. I think that's my biggest thing is drive-throughs coming through there. And I would just want to know that, you know, we're partnering in on this and we're working together to try to make it succeed. So, yeah, I mean, I think that would be good if we could have some flexibility there, and maybe we won't have to worry about it at all. But just to know that you're going to work with us.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. You. Mr. Bushek? Mr. Dunning?
Yeah, Mayor, I was consulting with Mr. Bushek on a preference of whether a condition like that is input into a preliminary development plan or whether that's into the TIF contract, and he and I both agree. I think that's appropriate for the TIF contract.
Appropriate for the TIF contract.
Right, which is
Okay.
not up for consideration tonight. It's the
Right.
TIF plan, but
All
that
right.
would be that negotiation to come to the terms within the
But we have a
TIF
public
contract.
meeting here to establish the fact that this is generally agreed upon. Yep.
That's direction that we're taking as guidance as we form that TIF contract with the developer to include that as a condition within the TIF contract.
All right, sounds good. Councilmember Pryor?
So I don't know that did we agree on a final number? Is it 7? Is that, okay. I just wanted to,
What he proposed, and
I'm.
I saw
good with-
nodding heads.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we still have a motion on the floor, been seconded. This is for the PDP, for Oldham Village. Councilmember Pryor.
Sorry. Okay, so we'll get to vote on the TIF contract with that in there, and at the time, we can have a discussion then?
Yes, the direction we're seeking from, we've sought and received from the council is when we negotiate the terms of the TIF contract, that provision will be in there that limiting to 7 drive-throughs.
I'm good. I'm good with it, 7 or 9. I don't want to go any lower than 7 to give them flexibility, but, okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. But this is on the PDP right now, so any further discussion on that? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in, please record the vote. It passes 7-0, thank you. Next would be, Councilmember Shields, would you mind reading bill number 25003 as well?
Sure, Mayor. Happy to. I move for second reading, or excuse me, for adoption of Bill number 25-003, an ordinance approving rezoning from District PI Planned Industrial District to District PMIX Planned Mixed Use District and Preliminary Development Plan for Oldham Village Phase 2 on approximately 18.78 acres of land generally located at the southwest intersection of US 50 Highway and South M291 Highway, all in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 33 Unified Development Ordinance of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Lee Summit, Missouri.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor to adopt bill number 25-003 by Councilmember Shields, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. This is also the phase 2 of the PDP, I believe. Yep. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. It passes unanimously. Thank you. Next, we have bill number 25004. Councilmember Pryor, would you please read for adoption? This is the TIF, but, go ahead. I'll let you read it first.
Thank you, Mayor. I move for adoption Bill number 25-004, an ordinance approving the Oldham Village Tax Increment Financing Plan.
Thank you. This is the TIF plan. The actual contract still is to be negotiated. Contract agreement. So therefore, they've been given guidance that we'd like to see a maximum of 7 drive-throughs on that PD plan. I have a motion by Councilmember Pryor, seconded by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion. Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in, please record the vote, and it's unanimous. Thank you. Takes us to Councilmember Hodges. Would you please read Bill number 25-009?
Thank you. I move for the adoption of Bill number 25-009, an ordinance approving the petition for establishment of the Oldham Village Community Improvement District.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 25-009 by Councilmember Hodges, seconded by Councilmember Shields. Discussion? Yes, Councilmember Rader.
Thank you, Mayor. I still am not comfortable with pulling the Hy-Vee into the CID, so I'm going to move to remove the Hy-Vee store from the CID. I want to make a motion to remove the Hy-Vee from the CID.
Okay. We have a motion to amend the bill. You would need a second before we could vote on it. Mr. Bushek, do you have a comment?
Yes.
Yes.
David Bushek, Chief Counsel of Economic Development and Planning. There's a procedure to amend a petition midstream. There's various notice requirements that have to be met to amend a petition while it's being considered. And the one thing that can't be amended is the boundaries of the district. Yes.
Okay.
And to clarify further, there is a process to request to add property and remove property from a district.
Okay. Well, the motion can, if it doesn't get a second, then we don't vote on it.
Mayor, may I ask, and David Bushak, may I ask you? So I want to understand that. So we're voting on the entire community improvement district. So you're saying we can't like compartmentalize it and remove something from that? Is that what you're saying?
There's a process to add and remove property to a CID once it's formed.
Okay.
There's a process to amend various components of the petition. There's a lot of things you can amend, but one of the things you can't amend is the boundaries of the district at this point.
Even though we haven't approved it completely? Okay, I need to understand.
I could stop and we could pull out the statute and I could
Oh, I
talk with you in
trust
more
you,
detail.
yes. I just need to understand.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mayor. So, do I need to, with no second, we just move forward?
Do I need to have her withdraw the motion if she doesn't get a second, Mr. Head? No. Lack of consent.
No, Mayor, if there is no second to a motion, the dies for lack of second.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, please cast your vote. All right, all votes are in. Please record the vote. It passes 6-1. Councilmember Carlisle, would you please read Bill number 25-010?
Thank you, Mayor. I am on. Okay, I would move Bill number 25-010, an ordinance approving the project number 1 Oldham Village LCRA Redevelopment Plan within the redevelopment area for the 291 South Regional LCRA Redevelopment Plan pursuant to the Land Clearance for Redevelopment Authority Act be adopted.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 25-010 by Councilmember Carlisle, seconded by Councilmember Shields. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in. Please record the vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you. And then we have a resolution here. Resolution number 25-01. Would the city clerk please read that for us?
Resolution number 25-01, a resolution expressing support for formation of the Oldham Village Transportation Development District in Jackson County Circuit Court.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt Bill number 25, or Resolution number 2501 by Councilmember Rader. No? No. By Councilmember Shields, and a second by Councilmember Hodges. Discussion? Seeing none, please cast your vote. All votes are in, please record the vote, and it passes unanimously. Thank you. And that takes us to committee reports. Lots of committee reports. Councilmember Shields.
Thank you, Mayor. You and I were at the Lee Summit Economic Development
Yes.
Council this afternoon. They continue to make good progress in, as you mentioned earlier, narrowing down their list of candidates for their president position, and they're going to start interviews soon, so we should see more progress there. And their required reporting is coming up in February, but it sounds like that's probably going to get pushed to our March meeting just due to the size of our agendas. Is that right?
I'm sorry, the
The annual report to the council from the
annual report
EDC.
from the EDC, yes. We have some long council meetings ahead of us, and we've got to keep battling through them. If we push items too far, we'll never dig our way out. So we're going to have to push the EDC annual report to us to March.
But I just wanted to let folks know that it's not that they aren't complying, it's just
Right,
the
yeah, no,
scheduling issue.
they're moving, they're motoring right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then unrelated, tomorrow we will have Finance and Budget Committee. It's on a different day than usual because of some timelines for getting us some data. So just a reminder, 4 p.m. in Chambers tomorrow, Finance and Budget.
Okay. Is it tomorrow or Thursday?
Showing up on Thursday, we've got Rules Committee. There we go.
Okay.
I'm doing all the committees this week. Thank you for doing my job for me. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Shields. Councilmember Carlisle.
Thank you, Mayor. This really isn't a committee report because I'm not the chair, but I would just like to say that our new chair of Public Works had her first meeting and chaired it and did a very good job. And we got
Nice.
some good work done. So congratulations on chairing your first meeting.
That's awesome. Thank you for the comments. I think that's it on the committee reports. I'm trying to think here. Like there was something I was missing. Council comments. Councilmember Shields.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say that I appreciated the hard work of our Public Works Department and others with the snow removal over the past week. I know they were working round the clock, and I appreciated all the updates about all the different shifts that were running and answering people's questions and all. I did wonder if maybe at some point, it doesn't have to be today, but an after-action report about how that event went and kind of what takeaways you had from it, because I know this was, what, the worst in 40 years, something like that? Yeah. So, so I would just love to hear kind of the takeaways from that at some point when you've had time to sleep again. So, thank you.
Can you comment on that, Mr. Dunning? Like what's it is fresh in everybody's mind, so when could you maybe give us a debrief on that? What are your thoughts on all that? I know you guys have been talking about it.
Yep, we certainly have, and we concur to pull folks in and just say, okay, let's capture our observations. What did we learn? Let's review, let's reflect. What could we do better? To the public comment we received earlier. Let's acknowledge, right, that we did not meet all of the public's expectations, and we'll acknowledge that, but it was a tough storm, and I also want to acknowledge that not every storm do we fight it the same. Every storm that comes our way, we have to adjust and figure out, and that was a tough one, not only because the amount of snow, but not knowing how much ice we were going to get, because we all heard, where's that line going to hit? So we're consistently looking at that and trying to figure out what can we do differently. And then the winds. I'll just, if now's the appropriate time, Mayor, to kind of dig in on this. I'm kind of getting into
If you got a few points you could tell us, I mean, I think we still need the full debrief, but I think maybe just a couple of comments right now would really help us as council members.
Sure. The winds leading into that, it required our plow drivers to do the same route over and over and over and over, and that just allows the snow to build on the secondaries and the residentials even more. So we're not able to just do one pass and then move on down the road. We're just doing those primaries over and over and over and over until that wind dies down. So a lot of lessons to be learned. I would say if you can give us a month to pull all that together, knowing that agendas in February are pretty packed too, but we will give you a debrief on some things from our operations with that respect, for sure.
And I kind of insinuated earlier this evening that you could even bring forward, other, if we want to spend more money on this, there's always ways, but you need to know what the trade-offs are. We need to know what the repercussions are or what our options are. I know that the app was a good thing, but also frustrating. Can we, we want to talk about that maybe, going forward.
Yep, all the tools that we have.
Okay, thank you, sir. Councilmember Shields? All right, Councilmember Pryor.
Thank you. So I think I saw that we're the 23rd safest city, correct?
Yeah, that was a rating that I think has some age to it, but it's kind of surfaced again based on, I forget the source of it, but there was a lot of data that went into that, yes.
Exciting. How old is it? Do you know? I know, didn't somebody just do an interview?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll see if I can find that.
And then I wanted to say thanks for the gloves that we were all given. I don't know by who, but I'm sure I'm sure the city's, I'm sure the city's selling them. I don't know how much, but they're cute. And Congressman Lopez really loved them too.
They fit like a glove, don't they?
That's right, I love it.
Mayor?
Yes.
I found the information. So what you're referencing, Councilmember Pryor, is a source, moneygeek.com did a listing of safest cities in America. It wasn't that long ago, back in December of 2024. Lee Summit was ranked as 23rd in the nation from safe cities. So how that surfaced again is Kansas City Star reached out to one of our staff just to dig deeper on that. So
That's exciting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I feel like there's something else I keep wanting to ask you, Mr. Dunning, but I just can't remember what it was. It couldn't have been that important. It's not on my list of stuff. So, do you have anything, staff roundtable?
yes, I mentioned at our last council meeting that we had our organizational annual meeting. We called it our all-hands meeting, and so we had that meeting, and I shared with all you via email the employees of the year for our core values and some others, so I'll just publicly let you know that for service excellence, these are our core values. Service excellence, it's Officer Mike Eisberg who supports very well our mental health and co-responder programs in that space. With regard to the integrity employee of the year, that's Jolie Fisher out of our law department. Does a lot of litigation for us and a lot of risk management for us. From a stewardship perspective, if you know Brent Boyce, who is more in that financial modeling and financial sustainability for water utilities, was recognized for his efforts in stewardship. Our team award went to our mentorship task force, who designed, developed, and recommended a mentorship program that we're putting in place here at the city. And then the newest award just this year was our leadership award, and that's David Bushek that was recognized for his leadership. That's where the gloves came from. We passed out little gloves to all those that could make it, and all the employees, quite honestly, that we're doing some great work, and we all need some good work gloves to keep the calluses off our hands, I guess. There you go. We needed them yesterday because we had some heating issues going on here, and I literally put them on because they were sitting right there on my desk. Another quick one, Citizens Leadership Academy kicked off last Saturday. So that program's in full motion. A great group of folks. I would share that there's one already saying, hey, how do I put my application in for a board or commission? So they're already that interested. And then I would just like to give kudos to the crews, right? It's not just the plow drivers, it's the customer service folks taking phone calls, taking the online service requests. It's our central vehicle maintenance who's working 24/7 to keep our plows running and the equipment going for us. It's our public safety folks. That was a level snow event where we called on water department, we called on parks department, we called on employees throughout the city to raise their hand and go get in a plow. And we did it for a solid week, from Sunday all the way through Saturday. And I can't think of another snow event that has lasted that long, other than, you know, we'll get continual snows here and there, and it feels like you're going nonstop. But in one single event, that was historic in my mind. And so thanks to all of those, and then communications too. We have numerous folks that you don't see it behind the curtain, but Public Works working with fire and PD on where do we need to get emergency response vehicles, where can we pull a plow off to make sure that we can get there. Some great work there, and then all the public communications as well. So it was a massive effort. We know we can learn from it. We know we need to meet all expectations, and we get better every time that we do this. That's the goal. So thank you, Mayor.
All right, well, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, Councilmember Rader, or Councilmember Carlisle. Sorry.
I just wanted to remind you guys that when you run out of people in all the departments, you know, there are council members who did run that and are certified, so you could call them too.
She's talking about you. She's
Councilmember
talking
Rader.
about you.
Oh, she was?
Yes.
What'd she say?
Certified snowplow. They could have called you.
Certified.
All right. Hey, we've had a busy month, and we have one more meeting to go. Thanks for being so diligent. Thanks for being here. This meeting's adjourned at 9:42.